Welcome to the Hall of Heroes.
On August 22nd comes an unprecedented global fan event.
Hello, everybody. It's all DC, all the time. DC FANDOME is unlike anything you've ever seen before. I'm actually standing inside a stage that Jim Lee himself drew. How incredibly cool is that?
That's crazy, right?
This worldwide mega event is for DC fans across the globe.
Ça va, DC FANDOME?
Hola, mi gente.
Guten Tag, meine Freunde.
We've got exclusive footage, insider info, the latest DC news, and huge announcements.
You know what I'm talking about.
There was no way that I could come here and not bring a look at the movies.
Yes!
There's so much cool content to look at.
That was a really special episode.
Designed just for you, the absolute DC fan.
It's amazing.
Whoop, whoop. There's something that I can show you. Exclusive content! Stuff that seems impossible ends up becoming possible.
I am beyond excited to be sharing this moment with you guys.
Awesome.
Hang on tight, because we are about to whisk you around the DC FANDOME. Are you guys ready? Let's get this thing started.
DC FANDOME Hall of Heroes. All fans welcome. 24 hours only. August 22nd. And there's only one place you can experience it at DCFandom.com.
Welcome everybody to DC Comics News. I am Josh Raynor, Editor-in-Chief, and I'm here to do a nice coverage of all the things that are going to be going on for DC FANDOME. We've got about 10 minutes until everything starts. So I just kind of wanted to touch base on some of the events that are going to be going on today. There's a lot of good stuff happening, and I hope that you guys are really, really excited, because I know that I am. So I'm just going to take a quick look here at this schedule. We have got this Wonder Woman panel that is going to be starting things off. I'm really excited for this one. Wonder Woman, I love that first movie. And this sequel, not Wonder Woman 1984, there's just been, everything that I've seen from it has just been fantastic. And I'm so excited to see where they kind of move forward from this. And kind of how it may lead into some other stuff, and whether or not they'll talk about that spin-off Amazon's film that kind of was talked about a bit. So I'm interested to see what they do with that. Then we got this WB Games Montreal announcement. You know, for the last like 2 years, it's been Batman Court of Owls that people have been talking about. That's been the rumor. So, you know, we'll finally get to get some answers as to whether or not, you know, that's what it is, or if it's something completely different. So I'm definitely pumped for that one. Sandman Universe Enter the Dreaming is one that I found pretty interesting, for the simple fact that it's like the only comic book panel that they're doing today. You know, so like before, when it originally had all 6 islands open on today, before they split it into 2 days, they had, I think it was the Insiderverse, they had most of the actual like comic book type panels, but all of that got shifted to September 12th, and so right now all we have is this Sandman Universe panel, which, hey man, if you're not reading the Sandman books, you should get on that. It's some real good stuff there, and I don't know what to expect from it. But I do like that they are including a comic book panel here, just for, you know, the fans who may be craving something like that during this 8-hour, technically 24-hour, but realistically 8-hour event. Then we got this Multiverse 101 panel, which I actually, when I first saw it, I was like, what is this? And what it is essentially is they're going to be breaking down like what the multiverse is for those who don't really quite understand it. And they've got, you know, Jim Lee from the comic side, Walter Hamada from the film side, and Greg Berlanti from the TV side. So they're going to be covering all of it, which I thought was really cool. Then introducing Flash. When I first saw this one, I wasn't like, I was like, are they? Is it just like a here's an introduction to the character of the Flash kind of a thing? Because there are a few panels that are like that. But no, this is the Flash movie panel, so you definitely don't want to miss that, especially with the recent announcement that Ben Affleck will be putting the suit back on as Batman for this Flash movie. Uh, After that announcement, I gotta say this panel became one of my most anticipated. I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know what they're going to reveal, but I hope that we at least get a good sense of what the story actually is, so that we don't have to keep kind of trying to wonder and spitting out conjecture all over. So I really hope they give us a solid answer as to what this movie is actually going to be about. Then there's one called Beyond Batman. Now this one is interesting. When I first was reading through the schedule, I thought it was Batman Beyond. Like I read it backwards. I was like, oh, cool, Batman Beyond. But it's not quite what it is. It does involve Batman Beyond, but it's a little. I'm not sure if it's going to be some video thing, like if it's anything that's live action, if it's something animated, if it's just an audio thing. But it's Batman Beyond and old Bruce Wayne intercepting a radio transmission from the 1966 Batman. So, hey man, I think that sounds pretty cool. I mean, it's something different and unique that they're throwing in here in between these panels. So I think that's kind of cool. So it's like, and if it's something that you're like, I can do without, then hey, you got 5 minutes to kind of get ready and prep for the next panel, which is the Suicide Squad panel. And this is going to be a pretty good length panel. So they're going to be just diving right into James Gunn's kind of sort of sequel, sort of reboot for the Suicide Squad. And hopefully we get some of the cast members out. We maybe get some confirmations on who, because some of the cast isn't actually confirmed as to who they're playing. It's been a whole lot of guessing games when it comes to that. So we'll see. Well, hopefully we'll see when that panel comes along. Then we've got the females of color within the DC universe. This is actually neat. They're trying to give exposure to a group of actors that don't get as much love as they deserve, and so they have actresses from all sorts of media within DC, lots of different shows and movies like Shazam and Titans and Black Lightning and all kinds of stuff, which is really cool, and I'm pretty excited. This one, I believe it is a 20. I think it's 20 minutes. It's either 15 or 20 minutes. But then there is a longer conversation from what the description said that will be in one of the other islands at the McDuffie Theater in I think it's the Watchverse. Whether that will be available today, I don't know. That's something you can obviously go and check and find out. But I guess we'll have to wait and see whether or not there's anything open in any of those other islands, because originally there were a whole bunch of on-demand stuff, that was available in the Insiderverse, and according to the new schedule, everything else outside of Hall of Heroes has been shifted to the 12th, to September 12th. So we'll see. I mean, after this, I'll probably kind of peruse around and see if there's anything else available to look at in any of those. So I guess we will see. So next one up would be Legacy of the Bat. This is it's an interesting one. Kind of diving into Batman and all that stuff. Batman is like a staple of DC. So it makes sense that they would want to do something that kind of showcases. I mean, obviously there are plenty of other panels that do have a bit of showcase around the Bat, but this one I'm definitely intrigued. It's only like 15-20 minutes, so we'll see. I'm interested to see what they have going on. And that is the one that will actually cap off this specific live stream. So because of the way I have to, I can only live stream for a certain amount of time with this program. I have to kind of break this up into some parts. And so after Legacy of the Bat, this live stream will be done. There is a link in the description of this one for the next live stream for part 2, which will start with the Chris Daughtry performance at 4:20, 4:20 p.m. on Eastern time in the U.S. So adjust your times as that. So looks like someone in the chat says that DC fandom is now live. So let's go take a look. All right, looks like still got a couple minutes here. So yeah. All right. So we've also got the Joker put on a happy face. Short one, but it's going to be diving into the history of the Joker. Yeah, so that should be a good one. We got Jim Lee portfolio review with DC supervillain fan art. So that should be good. Okay, we got a new link here. Let's see what we got. That did not work. There we go. All right. There we go. Now we are live with Fandom. I am so excited. There are some other good panels happening still. I mean, after everything I talked about, we still will have things like Black Adam, Shazam, Aquaman. The Suicide Squad video game will be dropping. Then we've also got, of course, The Batman, which is the big one at the end. So that's going to be that's going to be fantastic. I'm pretty pumped for it. So, all right, So looks like they're still setting things up. It looks like so we'll get in there. We'll get in there as things happen. In the meantime, I'll just continue going through this. After that Jim Lee portfolio review that I mentioned is a surprise DC panel. Now, this surprise panel could be anything. I have heard rumors of a Man of Steel 2 announcement, something to do with the Green Lantern HBO Max show. I mean, there's been rumors running rampant as to what this surprise panel could be. And, hey, if you've got any maybe guesses or hopes for what this surprise panel will be, let me know. Drop it into the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys are hoping to get out of this one. Then we got I'm Batman, the voices behind the cowl. This one is neat because it is taking a look and spotlighting the voice actors from across the globe who voice Batman. So, you know, you've got all these animated shows and movies that have the Dark Knight in it, right? And like, so you know the voice actors like Kevin Conroy, Dietrich Bader, Jason O'Mara. You know, kind of the big ones that you know. But when you go overseas, or like you go to Canada, the UK, Germany, you know, wherever else, those places get different actors to voice to dub over those things. So it's interesting, and we're gonna kind of get a spotlight on that. So I'm pretty excited for that one. What we got going on here? Looks like things are starting. Next would be Justice League, the Snyder Cut. I'm definitely excited for that. I'm just gonna kind of go through these a little quick now. Then we got the Flash TV panel, which they cut down from the original panel. Black Adam, CNN Heroes, Titans, Aquaman, Ask Harley Quinn, which is cool, Wonder Woman, and Shazam, and some of the other ones. So here we go. Aisha Tyler. She's awesome. I love her.
It's unlike anything I've ever seen before, guys. I mean, how cool is this place? I'm actually standing inside a stage that Jim Lee himself drew.
Jim Lee, he's the man.
How cool is that?
Yeah, I love that guy.
I am beyond excited to be sharing this moment with you guys. This worldwide mega event is for DC fans across the globe, and we've got exclusive footage insider info, the latest DC news, and huge announcements from WB Games, film, TV, and comics. And you get to enjoy it from the comfort of your own home, you lucky dog. Now, to help launch this global event, here are my co-hosts from all around the world.
Ooh,
Oi,
okay.
sou Érico Borgo.
There you go.
Olá, olá, eu sou a Aline Diniz.
I love that they're doing
Magandang araw, mga
this.
kaibigan. Ako po si Gino Villamor. I'm so excited to be here today.
That they have specific international hosts. It's really, I really like
Hola,
that.
fans de DC, yo soy Gaby y estoy feliz de estar con ustedes en este evento.
Hey, it's Clara.
Hallo zusammen, ich freue mich so sehr dabei zu sein. My name is Dominic.
Hello,
Hi
Dominic.
there, I'm Sam and I'm so excited to be here.
皆さん、こんにちは。リーコです。
Hi, I'm Tyrone Edwards, and I am excited to be here. Let's have some fun.
Ciao, sono Andrea.
G'day everyone, I'm Jaden and I'm super pumped. Hey, how you doing? Bonjour, moi c'est Thierry.
Jaden, I feel you, bro.
We are going to be bringing you
Super
guys
pumped.
closer to your favorite superheroes, their creators, and the stars behind them. Plus, big announcements, guys. I'm talking huge reveals. So, are you guys ready? Let's get this thing started.
Man, I'm so excited. I just finished watching Titans and Doom Patrol and stuff. So like, I know Doom Patrol's not on today, but because they happen to show Cyborg there from Doom Patrol, and they got some Doom Patrol stuff. But I'm actually really excited to see what they got coming up next for those shows. So like the fact that the Titans one, they moved it over to today. I'm real excited to find out what they're gonna do for season 3. And so if you guys watched it, let me know. Yeah, Wonder Woman. Let me know in the comments, guys, what panel you're most excited for. Black Lightning. The one thing about this is a really cool trailer, by the way, for fandom. The one thing that makes me sad is there's stuff that I gotta wait 3 weeks to experience the panels for, so I'm a little sad about that.
Wow. Now I'm even more excited to kick off this epic event. This looks so awesome. Okay, just 8 months ago, Warner Brothers traveled to Sao Paulo for CCXP Brazil, where they debuted the first trailer for Wonder Woman 1984. Well, now we are back with Erico and Aline for more thrills surrounding one of the most anticipated movie releases of the year. Erico and Aline, bom dia!
All right, here we go. Wonder Woman 1984.
Thank you, Aisha. I'm Érico Borgo.
Oi, everyone. I am Aline Diniz, and we're going to have a maravilhoso time today. So, of course, we have to catch up with the amazing talent behind Wonder Woman 1984. So, let's not wait another minute. Here she is, director Patty Jenkins.
So happy.
Hi, Patty. How are you?
What an incredible way to engage with the fans. We had such a good time in Brazil. We had so much fun that we're super excited to be back together in a new and interesting way, but super happy to be here.
Of course, you brought more people with you and some faces we did not get to see in Brazil, right, Patty?
That's right. I can't wait to have them here.
The one and only
If you're trying to watch it on the actual
Mr.
DC
Chris
Fandome
Pine.
website, you got to go to dcfandome.com/live. Just
So great
because
to have you,
I had that
and
issue
we
at first
wouldn't want
as well.
to do this
Just so you
without
guys know.
Wonder Woman's new
I see a
nemesis.
few people
So
asking that in the
let's welcome
comments, so.
Kristen Wiig.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. Hi, Patty. Hi, Chris.
But this film has not one, but two villains. So let's bring in the Max Lord, Pedro Pascal, please. Come on.
doubles against her. You guys
All right,
against
we are
each
back.
other.
Sorry
I think
about
Cheetah
that,
would
guys.
win.
Really?
Meow.
Because Wonder Woman would have she'd have a gold tennis racket to go with everything, and it would just be too heavy. And I'm fast, and I just think I would win.
Very subjective. That's your perspective, and it's okay. I disagree with you on this one, but let's agree to disagree.
Well, then I'll see you on the court.
Seeing
Okay, so now we're going
Kristen
to Poland
Wiig
with
as Cheetah is
Nina,
the thing
who has
I'm
a
most
question
excited
for
for.
Pedro. Does Pedro Pascal know how much he's loved and appreciated by his fans?
Oh.
Yeah. Do I know it? I love it, and I appreciate it, and it holds me up through the tough times like these. And I don't know. I'm just so grateful that question exists. Basically.
Next up is a question from Salma in the US for Chris.
Hi, Chris. I'm so happy and so excited for your return to Wonder Woman 1984. My question to you is, how does it feel to be the fish out of water in the 80s from your return, now having Diana Prince guide you around?
Yeah, that interest and curiosity. I would say it was kind of like it was a good lesson for me as a human being to remind myself to open up and not be so cool, not be so over everything. And, and my job again is to be in love with Gal, which is not a hard gig, and try to make her giggle, which is always fun.
He does so much more than that, but I like that you always sum it up that way.
Now we have a video questions
Pedro.
for everyone from Erin Lynch in the US.
Hi, my name is Erin, and I just wanted to know what was your most memorable moment on set. Thank you. I love you.
Yeah.
We love you back.
I know what mine is. When Gal and I were fighting. Well, I mean, the characters were fighting.
Yeah.
And we were practicing this stunt, and we got it down, and it was great, and it was going really well. And she grabbed my hair, I think, and wig just came.
Grab it. It got stuck in my gun.
Oh, it got stuck in your thing, and I don't know if we were tired or also it was just we laughed so hard.
Mine was in Washington. I mean, the fact that we'd shut down all of Pennsylvania Avenue to make this huge film. The little 8-year-old kid in you is can't believe that you're doing what you're doing, and that you get the privilege of doing it. I don't know. It feels like a dream in some kind of way, like you're stepping into the fantasy of playing make-believe on this scale in all the films that you ever wanted to be in as a kid. So that was a pretty special moment, I think.
Can I change my answer?
Yes.
That was so beautiful.
We've got one last question from a very special guest.
Yes! Linda Carter.
You look so beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, Linda, look at you.
Linda, everybody, Linda Carter, the reason that we're all here.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Patty. Hello, Gal. Hello,
Mama Bear.
Chris, Pedro. Oh my God, Gal. Hello, you beautiful woman.
Hi, Linda.
How are you? It's such a delightful surprise to have you here.
Thank
This
you.
is so great.
I'm so glad. We think about you every day, Linda, and we talk about you all the time. So this would not be a Wonder Woman panel, truly, if we didn't see your face. So it's so good to see you. So good to have you.
I'm so excited. I've never met you. I've watched your show when I was younger. I had Wonder Woman underoos, and I'm so excited to meet you.
Kristen?
Yes. I was also Wonder Woman for Halloween when I was a little girl. I mean, I'm so excited to meet you.
Kristen, I think you're so great, So we have a mutual admiration. And anytime when I meet you, will you do me a favor? Will you just throw your arms around me?
Yes, I would wish I could right now.
I'm beyond excited. I'm beyond excited. You know that I have been a fan from day one of Patty's when she was first attached to this film. When my daughter saw Gal as Wonder Woman, she said, "Mom, I finally get it. I finally understand why everyone idolizes you. I finally get what Wonder Woman means to everyone." You know? And that's my daughter. That's my flesh and blood. So, thank you, Gal. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
That's such a great story. Thank you, Linda. That's such a great story. And like the first time I ever called you, Linda, I said to you, I want you to know we're not here to reinvent Wonder Woman, and we're not here to do a new chapter of Wonder Woman. We just hope to take the torch and pass it forward. And so that means the world to me, because I was that person who was so moved by you and your performance and the show, the beautiful show that you guys did. So being able to know that somebody as important as your daughter acknowledged that we could be having that effect on her is like a huge compliment.
You are a true life Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And
Linda
and I
Carter is
can't be
amazing.
more
I have the
grateful
entire series
to
of
have
that
your
classic
guidance
Wonder Woman show,
and to be able to call you Mama
we wouldn't
Bear.
have stuff like this
Knowing
without
your
her,
children
you know?
now, thank you for everything that you've done personally for me, and I'm sure to
Especially
the world.
the,
And
the,
this
the Wonder
is
Woman movie
now
itself.
this
Like,
thing is
it
whole
wouldn't happen
because you're here.
without Linda Carter's Wonder Woman series. It just wouldn't.
We love you, Linda.
So,
Yeah.
We also had some submissions from fans that sent us pictures of their cosplays and fan art.
Oh my God. I love
Very
that
cool.
one.
Yes.
Exactly like having Linda here. It's like the classic. Like, who doesn't love to see
The star pants, they're so cool.
gorgeous?
Super
Radical.
Rocking it.
I know, she looks amazing.
Nice. That's awesome.
I love when I see people, like a man or different people do Wonder Woman, because it really does go to the core of like, we are all Wonder Woman, and that armor can mean something different on all these different people, and that's a great Wonder Woman costume. I love it.
I love the
Rocking it.
armband.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Because I felt like,
Wow, this is from the first one.
yeah, the recreation on the beach and everything.
I thought
Like,
that was your stunt double.
caught the spirit.
Part of me really
beautiful
hopes that
work, beautiful
Liz Wonder.
detail.
I don't know if you
Oh,
guys
that
know Liz
shield.
Wonder.
Oh my God.
She does.
amazing.
She
It
looks
looks
like
exactly
Gal.
like
It's
the
kind of
original
awesome.
one.
Aww.
It's like the Norman Rockwell of Wonder Woman things,
That's
and
so
so
cool.
perfect, because it's exactly why we're
I
all
love
here.
that.
It's like,
Look at the shoes she's wearing.
I know, so
Always
The red heels.
emotional about this character that, like, you know, we were talking numerous times. You know, we've seen so many male superheroes, but we haven't seen enough female superheroes. And for girls, for little girls, once they see it, they believe it, you know? So
Yeah.
for little girls to be exposed to these type of movies, whether if it's Wonder Woman or any other female-driven movie in this genre, is so important, because then, you know, it's so empowering. I love this piece of art.
this is
Oh,
such a
that's
gorgeous
nice.
graphic one.
Yeah, I think I posted this one.
Yeah, I love the
Wow,
beautiful,
that's so
you know, like
cool.
a different culture being brought to a
Yeah.
hero, because it is so universal. And so I love seeing different people take it on
I
and
love the
turn it, you know, bring it
style
into
of
something
the artwork
so
as
personal
well.
to
I think
them.
that's really
And
cool.
it's just beautiful art too.
I love the bracelets.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
I thought this was such a great one.
Oh
because
my gosh, that's so
I just love the spirit
that's cool.
of, you know, maybe this is Nubia, you know, and I love that it's the different Wonder Woman characters. And it's
Seeing
a
stuff like this
beautiful
makes
piece
me
of
sad
work,
that
and,
I
yeah,
have no
beautiful
like
art.
Before we
artistic
wrap up,
talent
Betty,
like that.
before we say goodbye, I know, and more importantly, the fans here know that you wouldn't have come to the DC Fandome without a little something extra for them, right?
Here we go.
That's right, guys. We are so excited to get to be here and see everybody and get to talk to everybody and answer questions for everybody. But it wouldn't quite be a good fan event if we didn't share a little something back. So we have our second official trailer to show you guys right now.
Yes.
This world is not yet ready for all that you will do. The time will come, Diana. And everything will be different.
Ride that lightning.
Citizens of the world, I'm here to change your life. Anything you want. Anything you dream of, you can have it. Look like you saw ghosts.
Yeah, a little bit.
You. It's like now one day has passed.
I don't want to be like anyone. I want to be an apex predator. You've always had everything, while people like me have had nothing. Well, now it's my turn. Get used to it.
Ooh.
Have you ever been one for rules? The answer is always more. The way I fly, they will never find us.
I forgot to tell you.
What?
Raynor.
Will they shoot at us?
Oh, yes! Cheetah!
What did you do?
I'm not so keen on this one. I figure you are, but you know what? I'm ready to go.
I think we can do better.
Parachute pants?
Yeah,
Does everybody parachute now?
Oh, that trailer was dope. Cheetah looks so good. Oh my god, I'm so excited for that movie.
I think you have, as they say, dropped the mic.
Thank you. So good to be here with
Hey,
everybody.
Brad.
You guys, I miss you so much.
Patty, Gal, Chris, Kristen, Pedro, thank you so much for stepping into the DC Fandome with us today. Thank you.
Guten Tag, meine Freunde. I'm Dominic Porschen, your German host. Now, before we reveal our next huge announcement from WB Games, can we talk about what we just saw from Wonder Woman 1984? Are you kidding me? I thought I was excited before, but now I literally cannot wait for this film to hit the big screen. I'm so excited to be hanging out with all
How about
of you
that trailer, huh?
DC Fandome.
Yeah, that was
I'm a
great.
huge fanboy myself, and together we are the reason comic
Cheetah
books
looks
are
so good
published. We
in
are
that
the reason
trailer.
superhero movies and TV shows are made. So today, it's all about us, the fans. In fact, to celebrate you and your fandom, we are highlighting your art submissions and creative cosplay. Take a look at this art from some incredibly talented fans.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, wow. Oh my god, they're gonna put these little shorts in between? I remember these.
I am going to do as many jumps as I can do in a minute. I'm not really a sporty person. I can fly. I do running things. And my mask has cat ears, and it covers my nose. I do running. Do. I run, and then I jump off. Oh. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
Now I'm going to see how many hops I can do.
All right.
Any gamers out there? What? I can't hear you. That's more like it. Now, I think it's safe to assume that the gamers are sitting on the edge of the
Now it's time for the
gaming
WB Montreal event.
and twitching with excitement for our first big Warner Brothers games announcement. So, to tell us more
All right, it's time
about
to find out what this game is.
Billy Batson's alter ego, Zachary Levi.
Hello, interwebs. It's Zachary Levi, your
What up?
favorite household Shazam. Many of you guys know I like me some video games. I'm a gamer ever since I was a little kid, which means I'm very excited to be revealing a brand new video game from Warner Brothers Games. We're going to meet the creative team in just a moment, but first, some brand spanking new footage from the game. We're about to play it right now for all of us. I've never seen it, so we're going to experience this together. Let's take a look.
In breaking news, we've received reports of an explosion somewhere north of the
We're
city.
still waiting for the police to confirm if there are any victims. The story's evolving rapidly. Please bear with
I heard
us.
this really loud boom. There was smoke.
Emergency services have confirmed that they've discovered a body buried in the wreckage. We're still waiting for further details.
It appears that a large portion of the building has actually collapsed.
International news: an explosion rocked Gotham City earlier today.
We're now able to confirm that billionaire philanthropist Bruce Wayne is If you're watching this, I'm dead. This is a code black. This message was automatically triggered when I destroyed the cave and everything it contained. We both know it won't take long for Gotham's criminals to realize that Batman is gone. And you can't count on the GCPD. Never trusted us since Jim died. Gotham will need its protectors more than ever. I'm leaving you to Belfry as the base of operations. Some of the technology is outdated, but it has the gear you need and all of my files. You've always had my back when I needed you. I know you'll keep Gotham safe. Good luck. And goodbye.
I'm Patrick Redding.
Dude.
I'm Flo Martin.
We're both from Warner
That
Brothers
looks
Games
awesome.
Montreal, and we're both thrilled to finally be able to show you Gotham Knights.
Oh, yeah.
You may be wondering why we chose to tell this story and focus on
That
the
trailer was amazing.
We wanted to shake up the status
What?
quo of Gotham City. We wanted
Dude,
to
that trailer was amazing. And it looks like we are definitely getting the Court of Owls.
and then find out what happens. What happens when these heroes, the Bat Family, Nightwing, Batgirl, Red Hood, and Robin, have to step up and take on the role of new protectors of Gotham.
What's really exciting about Gotham Knights is that you, the player, will be able to grow these characters how you see fit. You get to see how you would step up and become Gotham's protector. You're not trying to become the new Batman. You're becoming your own badass superhero.
And as a bonus, we brought gameplay footage. This is captured in-engine from a recent build. And we just can't wait for you to see this. Take a look.
I like gameplay footage. That's cool. See how it plays out.
Belfry, Elliott Center is covered in ice. Whatever's causing this is localized at the top.
Definitely freezes handiwork. In best hurry.
That's what the bike's for.
All units at Elliott Center. Air support inbound. Hostiles opening fire on upper floors. Air support, can you do a fly around? On it. We need a way to get through that ice. We need to get past these guys first.
Looks like Freeze is back with vengeance.
If he wants a fight, he'll get it.
Firefly's plasma gun. Oh, sweet.
Montoya here. Heard you're down there having some fun.
Ooh, Montoya, alright.
Just a heads up, the chopper's under orders to fire on anything that moves inside.
I like that Renee Montoya's involved. That's cool.
The storm is getting worse. You need to hurry and find a way inside Elliott Center.
The GCPD chopper made that part easy. This doesn't look up to code.
Got those some quips in there. I love it.
If anyone asks, I meant to do that.
I won't say a word.
Wars were still going on when Freeze came through.
Those poor people. They didn't stand a chance. This will only take a second.
Oh, damn.
Not the safest time to take the elevator.
You'd rather take the stairs?
These cables on the floor. Guaranteed they lead to freeze. Belfry, status.
Countless dead, and the temperature's still falling.
We need to stop this. Now.
Belfry wasn't kidding about the storm.
Almost there. I see the weather machine. Ready with the disruptor.
That thing's drawing so much power.
Field disruptors in place. It's charging.
Get away from my storm engine.
Oh, he looks
Is that what you're
awesome.
You don't want to be on the roof when this disruptor goes off. Trust me.
Irrelevant. I already have what I need. The storm has risen over Gotham. Nothing can stop it.
See about that.
You cannot run from me!
Ooh.
You will not stop me! Keep yourself to the cold.
That was amazing! That was so good. That was so good. Thank you so
That
much,
was
Patrick and Flora,
so
for
good.
giving us this insight, all
Totally
this info. I, for one, can't wait to play it. I'm sure everybody at home can't wait to play it. Speaking of everyone at home, before you take off, if that's okay,
Oh, man, I can't
we'd
wait.
like to answer a few fan questions. Yeah, cool. Here we go. Callum from the UK asks, what has driven you the most in the direction of this game?
Wow. Well, I'd say really there have been kind of three consistent ideas at the heart of Gotham Knights. First is having like a whole cast of playable characters that can continue to grow and reinvent themselves.
Yeah, Batgirl looks great.
Second, a real living, breathing Gotham
They
City
all look
that
great.
keeps challenging you, keeps serving up danger. And then finally, it's that fantasy of the superhero team up, and we want to be able to deliver that in co-op play.
Copy that. Alistair from Kenya asks, what goes into deciding which characters you are going to develop a game around?
Well, we chose characters who resonate with players on a few different axes. We wanted heroes who embodied different aspects of the Bat family. The detective side, as well as the fighter, the scourge of the underworld, the urban legend. We looked for characters that offer players a unique starting point and then a long runway for growth. Ultimately, we wanted heroes that could take on the forces that threaten Gotham City, but each bringing their own unique perspective.
Gotcha. Okay. Now we have Riley from the United States. Homegrown. Riley from the United States asks, could you give anything more on this WB Games Montreal game? Any other little tidbits?
We're actually sort of standing in it. The Belfry will be a very important location in Gotham Knights.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta keep a few secrets.
I love
We're
the
gonna have
name.
more to talk about later.
We can tell you this. The mystery in Gotham Knights is way
the vowels and the talons.
Well, is there anything else that you would like us to know?
Well, our game is coming out in 2021, and we can't wait for everyone to play it.
Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Patrick and Floor, for sharing everything that you have. To everybody out there, I hope you've been enjoying DC Fandome. Continue to enjoy DC Fandome. I'm Zachary Levi. Love you.
That game looks dope, man. I'm so pumped for
Yeah.
Just.
And it does look, the gameplay does look really similar to the Arkham game, so that makes me happy because I love those games so much, and I love how they play. So,
and you know, a lot of those rumors were pretty close on. You know, you have the Court of Owls stuff, a Batman like theme type of game, but the fact that he's dead and the cave is destroyed, was not expecting that.
yeah,
That's cool.
and I have a feeling that Batman will come into the game at some point. But yeah, man, that's exactly what I wanted in that little panel.
Yeah,
for sure. Oh, here we go with the Sandman.
Now we got the Sandman Universe panel. Like I said before everything started, if you guys aren't reading these books, get on it. Start reading these books.
I'm so excited to be here with you for the Sandman Universe Into the Dreaming DC Fandome panel. Today we'll be discussing the comic book series and how it's been expanded with new stories, adapted into new media, and how it continues to enthrall.
Just a heads up, Josh, if you're asking me questions, I can't hear you very well, so just bear with me on that.
Critically acclaimed graphic novels of all time, Neil Gaiman's award-winning masterpiece, The Sandman, set the standard for mature lyrical fantasy in the modern comics era. It has been translated in over 15 languages and is available in over 30 territories. I am thrilled to be here with Neil Gaiman. Hi, Neil. Nice to see you.
Can you hear the panel okay?
Oh, you look so good in your little boxes. Now, Neil, you started The Sandman as a ground-up reimagining of an older DC property. At what point did you realize how much bigger the story could be? Did you know from page one, or did you find it on the way?
It started in 1987 when I was a 26-year-old writer, and I'd been asked to write a monthly comic for DC Comics, and all I knew was that I needed something that I could go anywhere with, that I could tell any kind of story, because I'd never had to tell a story a month before, and I didn't know if I could. So Sandman was originally imagined as something that would let me tell any kind of story I wanted to tell. Probably by the end of the first year, I knew what kind of thing I was doing. And I'd say by the middle of the second year, I knew the shape of the whole story, and I knew what was going to happen. I knew who was going to live and who was going to die, more or less. And then it was a matter of just holding on tight and hoping, against all hope, that I actually would be able to tell that story before it got cancelled. You know, the original Sandman, the first book, probably it's in upturns, is 8 issues long. And it's 8 issues long because at issue 8 was when they would call you and tell you they were cancelling.
Oh!
And that you would have, you know, you had a year, so you had 4 more issues to wrap it up. So I had, my whole plan was it was going to be an 8-issue storyline and then 4 short stories, and then obviously we'd be cancelled. Except we weren't cancelled.
30 years from the original series, what's exciting to you about seeing the story continue, both in its new adaptations and in the Sandman universe canon?
Not feeling like I made a slice of history. Because, you know, the idea that a 30-year-old comic still has relevance, that a story that's 30 years old, you know, these were your grandparents' comics, and that they can still have relevance is incredibly exciting. So that's been part of the joy of watching over the last few years the Sandman universe stuff, where people are just taking ideas and spinning off with them, going and having fun and building them, and the joy of having people like Cy and now like Willow writing these amazing artists is a joy. And also I'm getting to do Sandman in different ways. I'm getting to do it working with Dirk Maggs on Audible as a giant audio drama where we
also getting to do it now with Netflix as a slightly looser but still faithful adaptation. And so all of that is a delight, and it all makes it feel like something happening now and not like something that happened a long time ago.
The Sandman universe has a new series which started on August 4th, The Dreaming, Waking Hours, and it's written by our next guest, G. Willow Wilson! G. Willow, I love your name.
Oh, thank you so much. Hi, Yvette. How are you?
It is so nice to meet you. Now, G. Willow, you first came to The Sandman purely as a fan in your teenage years. What did the series mean to you at that age?
You know, I first read The Sandman in the late 90s as a teenage goth, and for me, what's interesting looking back now is that by the time I read that series, it was already part of the culture, and so I was already wearing the death outfit without knowing what it was. So, you know, to pick up the series and be like, oh, this is where this comes from, was really, really interesting for me, and it had a huge impact, I think, on my sense of how you tell stories in the graphic medium, of the scope of the kinds of stories you can tell, the way that you can put on a twist on legacy characters to make them relevant and fresh again for a new audience, and all of those tools that I was sort of unconsciously picking up reading that series at that age, I think have been tremendously valuable to me, you know, in my own creative life, reimagining different stories and working in, you know, sort of the Sandman universe. So it really feels like coming full circle.
Now, when you learned you were going to be writing The Dreaming, Waking Hours, what did you want to bring into the universe that wasn't there yet? What was your in to the story?
When you're dealing with a legacy series that is as beloved as The Sandman is, you have to kind of balance two things. Number one, the history that longtime readers have with the series, the emotional investments that they have in that place and those characters, and also creating a new entry point for people who might not be as familiar with the series. I was sort of going through this roster of characters who've lived in the Sandman universe and in Dreaming over the years, and thinking, who haven't we heard from yet? And at the time, I was going through a bout of insomnia, and I was thinking to myself, my God, you know how happy I would be to have a nightmare right now, because at least it would mean I was asleep. And just like a bolt out of the blue, all of a sudden, Ruin, this nightmare who's tired of being a nightmare, wants to be something else, was kind of there and complete. And I was like, oh, there it is. That's the end. That's how we get back into this history from a point of view that's conducive to bringing in new readers, and that maybe gives us a fresh perspective on this really beloved set of characters and place.
In my 20s, I used to have terrible nightmares. And then somewhere around year one of Sandman, they kind of stopped. And they stopped because every time I had a nightmare, I would wake up so happy. Scribble it down. I could have a notebook by my bed. I could put the details of whatever this awful nightmare was. I would just be so happy. And I stopped, and I figured that whoever sent the nightmares just got tired of getting the wrong reactions from me.
That's amazing.
I cannot wait to read Waking Hours. Okay, so let me just calm myself down, silence my inner fangirl. We mentioned how The Sandman was transcending the panels of the comic book page. In July, fans got to experience the Sandman Audible series. Joining us now is the director of that series, Dirk Maggs. Welcome, Dirk.
Thank you, Yvette. Lovely to be here.
Oh my gosh, and thank you for bringing your hair because it's amazing. Neil and Dirk, how did you guys first meet?
It was a hair retrospective.
I knew we'd go there.
We failed to meet, although we first encountered each other in about 1992, when Dirk was doing, he was adapting The Death of Superman for British radio as an audio drama, and it became a huge phenomenon in the UK. And Phyllis Hume, who was at DC Comics back then, decided that we should become acquainted, and she gave Dirk Sandman graphic novels, which was, Sandman was still being written, and Dirk read it and went, this is a drama. And what happened then?
And then the BBC said, I think we've done enough comic book stuff with you now, Dirkie. Off you go and do some terrible comedy instead. And so that was it. We didn't do it for the BBC. And I thought so it was very sad because I'd never read anything like it. And actually, I thought of all the things we were doing, and I'm very proud of Superman and Batman. But I thought, wow, this guy is making some interesting stuff here. Great to sit in a studio. Little knowing it would take 28 years to actually get there.
Well, it was worth the wait.
Yeah.
Dirk, what was the process of taking the comic book scripts and turning them into an audio experience?
Really, the process with Neil was very easy because Neil is still alive, which is an enormous amount of help. It actually means I can talk to the author without using a Ouija board. And not only that, but the author in this case is a supremely kind, indulgent, patient man who will put up with the questions of someone who normally is just a drummer and give him intelligent replies. So it was wonderful to have Neil accessible, and the real joy was to actually get Neil's original scripts, which he wrote at the time for the artists. And one of the things about the scripts is they're kind of like the blueprint. They're kind of like the scaffolding behind the facade, which is the story. And you get into Neil's mind at the time when he's writing him, 27-year-old Neil, and what he wants to see. And what, I don't know if Neil, you knew this, but there's real poetry in your descriptions that no one but a single artist would read. Well, I know you know that now because you've been reading these descriptions as part of the narration. But really, they were a piece of literary art in their own right, the scripts. So I had those to base things on. We come to the decision that we were going to stick pretty closely to the original work, because why wouldn't you? Effectively, there is nothing needs really changing. Occasionally, here and there, one might just, touch slightly on the steering wheel, but there is nothing much you need to do. And they just rock. They totally rock. So Neil as narrator now is being Neil the writer. We're in his head, and then off the page, I'm going to extend this metaphor to snapping point, come the characters and we get this wonderful sort of sense of being inside Neil's head. The nicer part, the classy part.
The classy part. Okay, well, besides the star actors, you had to cast something like 150 other parts. Kudos to you. What was that process like, Dirk?
Well, I've got to say, our casting team, Marielle and Nicola, who were doing a lot of the casting, did a fantastic job. There are way many more parts than we could comfortably deal with in a given situation with a studio that probably held 6 people and was really only built for 1. If you know the Marx Brothers works, you'll know there's a thing called the stateroom scene where they're trying to cram into a cupboard on a boat. Well, that's kind of how it was in this situation. I had to think of a way through this, and I thought what we need is all the very best audio voice actors in London. And London is a really good place to get voice actors because, of course, BBC still run the spoken word and drama and so on and so forth.
I really
so
like the audio
actors
drama.
as busy as Michael and James, who was in a play at the time, you're not expecting to see them. You're getting people who normally would get a marquee, who are coming in as part of the ensemble, and everybody kind of checked their egos at the door. And we ended up with a really lovely situation. There were certain episodes, like, for example, A Midsummer Night's Dream, where, the temperature in the studio kind of climbed into the late 90s. But the upside was that the cast, we were pretty much doing the story from soup to nuts. So if you're in the room with them, you're watching one of Neil's greatest stories just happen in front of your eyes with a bit of extra Shakespeare here and there. So it was a wonderful experience.
Speaking of the amazing cast, we are joined by the devilish Michael Sheen. Welcome to the panel, Michael.
Nice.
Hello, Beth. How you doing?
I'm good. So happy to have you with us. So, Michael, now you are on the hot seat. How did you put your spin on Lucifer?
I mean, I remember when I first read Sandman. I'd left Wales to come down to London to go to drama school. And one of my fellow classmates at RADA, within the first few weeks, said to me, do you read comic books? And I said, no, I don't. And I thought, like superheroes? I'm not really into all that. And sorry, DC. And he said, here we are. And he gave me some Alan Moore. He gave me V for Vendetta and Watchmen and Swamp Thing and Constantine and Sandman. And I remember reading the first few Sandmans and it just sort of, well, I mean, it did literally change my life. It gave me, it sort of both reinforced what I was already interested in, but opened doors to whole universes for the rest of my life. I mean, it created my taste, really, I suppose. It led me to finding out about Joseph Campbell and comparative mythology and Carl Jung and I mean, all kinds of stuff. It just blew my mind. And certain things really stayed with me. And one of those things was the character of Lucifer when you first meet him early on in the story, and that kind of young Bowie look. That image had really stayed with me. So when I came to do Lucifer, that was there at the back of my mind. And I love the idea of someone who looks very angelic. I mean, he is an angel. He's the fallen angel. And that young Bowie with the curly blonde hair is very angelic and sort of chirpy. Hello, you know, and it takes you by surprise. You're expecting Lucifer to be Lucifer. And of course, you don't have to, it's like, hello, Dream, how are you? And I love that idea of sort of surprising the audience and pulling the rug out from under their feet, which Neil is so brilliant at. And of course, the first thing I ever saw to do with the Sandman was the cover of Preludes and Nocturnes, the Dave McKean art. And even from that, I knew I was entering into a whole other world. And then, of course, getting to know Dave many years later was a bit of a dream come true.
He is such a singular talent and such a singular vision. It was weird with Sandman. I think we had this huge fight on our hands right in the very beginning when we told DC that the title character Morpheus would not be on every cover. I remember them coming back going, but how will people know this is Sandman? And we said, well, because the word Sandman will be on every cover. And having lost that battle, they never fought again. They were like, okay, well, obviously we don't know what this thing is, and they're doing things that break all the rules because you have to have the character on the cover, and they aren't. So they're just doing their thing. And it really was Dave having that fight. And also, around Sandman 9, Dave refusing to be fired. Karen Berger fired him. He was in New York, and she said, we don't have time for you to do any more Sandman covers. Then he said to me, I've been fired. And I said, what are you going to do? He said, well, I'm going to spend the next 2 days painting the next 8 Sandman covers, and then I'm going to send them over to her, and I'll see what she says. And that's what he did. He just made the rest of the Doll's House covers. Amazing. He did all the covers and sent them over. And what was she going to do? They were brilliant.
Of course, I spent a fair amount of time with Neil fairly recently when we did Good Omens together. So I got used to Neil being on the other side of the camera and close to me, which I liked. But he's sort of creeping ever closer, like a game of Grandma's Clock. Is that what it's called? Where, you know, every time I look around, he's not behind the camera now. Now he's actually standing next to me in the recording studio, narrating the damn thing. I mean, if he gets any closer, we'll have to have an operation to be separate.
I love the fact that I get to work with Michael. Michael and I have been friends since 2010, and we've been working together since 2017, and just I get to just admire him as an actor more and more, and the very, very peculiar feeling of having my friend Michael standing next to me in the studio and opening his mouth, and this voice that basically belongs to David Bowie playing Lucifer coming out of his mouth, and I'm just looking and going, how does he do that? How can that work? And I forget that my friend Michael is also one of the greatest actors of our age. It was an absolute delight. We were incredibly lucky at the kind of cast who came out for Dirk and also who came out for Sandman, because we're lucky in that there are Sandman fans everywhere. And we get to punch above our weight.
I could listen to Neil Gaiman
we get
just
to
talk
get
about
Willow
anything,
coming
man.
in and writing The Dreaming because she was a Sandman fan. And
Right?
we get Michael Sheen, we get Kat Dennings, we get these amazing people coming in and fighting to do it because they love Sandman, and we are so lucky in that.
Like we said earlier, The Sandman is in dozens of languages and has been in print continuously for over 30 years. Why do you think the Sandman not only endures, but transcends media?
For me, the answer is that I really didn't know what I was doing. And I didn't know what I was meant to be doing, and I didn't know how to do it. And I did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that, just doing it, also meant that everything I was seeing, everybody I met, every thought going through my head, made it onto the page. And every way that I could tell stories, I was telling stories, I was trying new things. And I think that it hasn't aged and it hasn't dated in probably the way that it should. You can absolutely see places where it's completely of its time, and you can see places where my heart was in the right place, but I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And I think that's fine and that's forgivable, because overall, I think I, along with dozens of astonishing artists and along with people who are unsung, like Todd Klein, our amazing letterer who did miracles that then nobody notices are there, creating lettering font styles for characters like Delirium or Dream or Desire. I thought I was making something completely disposable. If I'd known I was making something that would last, I probably would have had a lot more attention, and it probably wouldn't have worked.
How about the rest of you? Why does it transcend for all of you, you think?
Like I said, it sort of changed my world, really. It gave me an introduction to things that have had a huge impact on my life and who I am today. And it led me, it is a story about stories. And as such, as Neil said, he wanted to come up with something that allowed him to tell whatever story he wanted. And because of that, it roams across time and space and through mythology and history and Shakespeare, every single, it was such an explosion of the imagination and creativity. And yet at the same time was grounded in a real kind of edgy, earthy realism as well. So it had something for everyone, but instead of being a kind of jack of all trades, it seemed so specific. And it was just like, it's like when I, as an actor working on Shakespeare, you can literally feel your brain expanding, like your consciousness growing because of what Shakespeare does in his plays. And reading The Sandman was a similar experience for me. I could feel my consciousness getting bigger because of what was in it and what it introduced me to. And because it is about sort of primal, deep things like the dreaming, like reality and concepts like fairy, and it of course it's timeless. I mean, it's about the endless, and the story itself is endless, and so it will go on forever.
Speaking from the point of view of adapting it to another medium, what's great about it is that it's doing everything that Michael's just described. It's this enormously, the conceit of it, and I'm not using conceit pejoratively there, but the scale of the imagination, all of Neil's misspent years in libraries as a kid, all that reading is just pouring out on the page, a sort of torrent, like a dump tank of ideas. And to have started this journey in audio particularly, where we're sticking very close to the originals, is great, because I know, well, we all know where it's going to go, but the journey of discovery is getting an actor. I mean, when Michael comes in and starts playing Lucifer, I'm thinking, oh, wow, I can't wait to hear where this is going to go. And of course, we have all that to look forward to, and the rest of the cast as well. So, hats off to Neil. It's an astonishing piece of work.
Willow, how about you? Why do you think The Sandman endures?
To me, what was really astonishing about Sandman, especially the first time that I read it through as a teenager, was that unexpected people were at the center of the story. I think, we're kind of taught to look to the most obvious figures to be heroes, the politicians, the famous people, all of this. Whereas in Sandman, the guy sitting next to you on the bus could be Lucifer or the King of Dreams. And as such, you get stories
I love those
about
characters
characters who I think were kind of pushed to the margins, especially at the time in other types of stories, right? And now they're at the center.
And that makes you look twice at the world around you. It makes you sort of question, who is telling the story, and what point of views are we missing, and who is unmourned. I mean, that also really struck me, is that, like, this came out in the middle of the AIDS epidemic when, a lot of people were trying to push, these deaths and this terrible thing that was happening under the rug. And Sandman said, no, pay attention. This is important. These people are important. And that was very striking to me. And I think that's part of the reason that it still feels so relevant, because it kind of reminds you there are still stories we haven't heard. There's still things we're afraid to talk about. And it's the people around you who could be the true spinners of tales. And that really has stuck with me through the years.
Well, that answer was amazing.
I've thought about this a lot.
Oh, gosh, it's so good, G-Willow. I want to thank all of you for this wonderful time. I had the best time talking to all of you. But before we go, we can't forget about the dedicated fans. We asked and they responded, and we get it. You want to know about the Netflix show. So, Neil, can you tell us anything? We've been asked about when it will be released. We've been asked about the cast details. What can you tell us, Neil?
Well, I can tell you that due to COVID, everything, as with every other piece of television being made around the world right now, somebody pushed a giant pause button.
Curse you,
and
COVID!
We've taken advantage of our pause button just to try and get the scripts as close to perfect as we possibly could, which has been really fun. And that right now, as the universal pause button is starting to come off, we're starting to cast again. I'm getting these inspiring and wonderful emails with production designs, with places that I've only ever seen in the comics before, now being rendered in 3D, and I'm being asked to comment on it. That's amazing. There's not a lot I can say. Something that I will say is part of the joy of doing the audio adaptation was going, this is going to be the nearest thing we can do to an audio book of those first 3 graphic novels, and hopefully all of the graphic novels. And we're going to start it in 1988. And it's going to end in about 1991 or 1992. Sandman is a very compressed story, even though it takes place all through time and space. That's where that story takes place. What we're doing with Netflix is saying, okay, it's still going to start in 1916, but the thing that happens in Sandman 1, the point that the story starts, is not 1988, it's now.
Ooh.
And how does that change the story? What does that give us? What does that make us have to look at that we wouldn't have had to look at if we were setting it as a period piece? What is that going to do to the gender of characters? What is that going to do to the nature of characters? What's that going to do to the story? And that has been an absolute delight, because it means we are always being true to the story and being true to the characters, but it gives us tremendous freedom to go, okay, if we were doing it now, what would Sandman be? And that, again, is very liberating.
That's well, really cool. As a fan myself, I cannot wait to see it. And I just wanted to share that I was a tiny part of the Sandman universe. Check this out. It's a drawing by artist Domo Stanton of me flying through the city.
That's
lovely. Well, thank you all so much. It's been wonderful chatting about the Sandman. Thank you, G. Willow, Dirk Maggs, Michael Sheen, and of course, Neil Gaiman. Thanks for joining us, and enjoy the rest of DC FANDOME!
Dome!
Dreams, nightmares, demigods, and fallen angels.
All right.
I'm officially in and can't wait to dig into Sandman.
Time for some multiverse coming up next. That was a good panel. That's one of the things I actually love about the comic book panels in general, is that they really tend to dive deeper.
That was a good conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was.
Batwoman kind of stands out because she doesn't technically have like a superpower. Everything that she uses to fight bad guys is more of her intelligence and Luke and her physical strength. So I do look forward to seeing that or for playing in that perspective, like from a Ryan perspective, from like this street kid's perspective, from a person that saw these superheroes growing up, because that was also really important for Ryan, you know, to see Batwoman be an out lesbian and to have a, you know, a superhero role model to look up to. And then now all of a sudden I'm filling those shoes.
I am intrigued to see how they do the second season of
that have already
Batwoman
been doing it. I think that that's going to be a lot for her. I'm sure it's going to be a culture shock for her, but I also think that it's really cool because it's really like when that world meets the superhero world in all of its dynamics.
Hola, mi gente. I'm Gabby Cam, your host from Mexico City. For nearly 60 years, DC has played with the intriguing concept of the multiverse.
I'm actually excited for this one because it's going to be Jim Lee, Walter Hamada, Greg Berlanti. So we're getting all three sides of DC and diving into the multiverse.
Nice. Yeah, I just didn't want to interrupt when she was talking just a second ago because I'm like, whoa, this is the new Batwoman.
Yeah.
Brad, good to see you, buddy. Guys, thanks for having me on. This is really fun. Happy I could hop on.
Ed, you're muted. You had some stuff going on with your mic. It was crackling a lot during the Sandman one.
The multiverse has been at the heart of
Tiffany
DC
Smith.
almost from the very start.
Hey.
But the moment most fans think of is this one. In the Silver Age of comics, when the Flash met the Flash in 1961. In Flash of Two Worlds, DC created a story where the Flash could be Barry Allen and Jay Garrick at the very same time, and created the architecture that would allow DC to be expansive, inclusive in their storytelling and in their universe, and is the world that fans now know, and also laid the groundwork for the ambitious crossover event Crisis on Infinite Earth. Crisis on Infinite Earth brought the DC multiverse to fans, bringing together DC superheroes and supervillains in a truly epic event. But this is not the first time DC has explored the multiverse, and trust me, it will not be the last time fans will see it, as DC is truly embracing this exciting creative concept, and how it can open up endless opportunities for storytelling for our comic books, TV shows, film, and games creators. Here in the DC Fandome, I am so excited to have our own crossover moment and talk about what the multiverse really is for DC, how it informs every story DC tells, and how fans can expect to see it on the page or on the screen moving forward. I'm Tiffany Smith, and I'm so excited to welcome our panelists here today. First up, we have got a legendary comic book artist in his own right. He is also the Chief Creative Officer and Publisher for DC, and he sits at the heart of everything DC does and is a master of the multiverse, Jim Lee.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's essentially the face of fandom, too.
From the Joker to Aquaman, and has huge plans for where DC movies are about to go next. Walter Hamada, how you doing, sir?
I
Hello,
don't think I've ever seen his face before.
And finally, one of the key architects of DC's Arrowverse and the amazing Crisis crossover event, he is executive producer of nearly a dozen fan-favorite DC shows like Batwoman, The Flash, Supergirl, Doom Patrol, Titans, and the upcoming Superman and Lois, and many, many more. It's Greg Berlanti. How are you?
Very good, very good. Great to be here.
Let's just kind of go to the top of it, and I'm going to go to you, Jim. What exactly is the DC multiverse for people who may not know?
Yeah, I think when people think about superheroes, they know the names, the costumes, the powers, the origins, and it kind of tends to be this sort of monolithic kind of thing. But one of the things that really is distinct and unique to DC is that it's the first large work of fiction that has leaned upon this idea that we are not alone. We have this reality, this Earth, but that there are alternate realities that sit side by side with us in the infinite number. And on each of these different Earths, we exist, but maybe in slightly different variations, right? We might be a different gender on another.
Josh, come back. We need you. Oh, Brad, I can't even hear you. Oh man, and here we get multiversity.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you are. Hey, what's up, dude?
All right.
Well, I think we might want to just sort of fill in for a little bit till we get Josh back. He was our audio feed here, and without him, we don't have audio. All right, so we're guessing what they're saying. I'm guessing it's about Arrow and the recent Crisis on Infinite Earths and Greg Berlanti. Sound like a good guess?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm actually listening to it. I'm watching it on a laptop in front of me with a headphone.
He's back. We have audio.
I have audio.
I apologize.
Oh, there he is.
I didn't think
Okay.
you was audio.
That first scene of the two of them together and thinking,
Next
like,
time
oh,
I
wow,
won't
this,
drop
this
myself
makes
out. That was my bad.
That's okay.
1 + 1 = 3. The other thing it allows for is the vastness. You really feel the vastness of each of these different worlds, and I think it adds to the importance of these heroes and the myth of them. And that's been really exciting. And again, the element of surprise. If the universe that everyone's constructing, the different showrunners and creators and directors, and obviously with Walter and Jim helping shepherd all of it, if it can go to all those different places and still be tethered together, I think just as an audience member, I want to show up and not know, like, who might I see here? That's incredibly exciting.
Well, and I think it's something too where we talk about comic book writers getting to play with the characters in different ways. Same thing on the TV shows, where it's when you bring a character from one show into another show, those writers now get to play with that character or a different version of them, which I think the fans, myself included, have loved seeing on TV.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun for the actors. They love it when they play a villain version of themselves from another planet. Everybody loves to play a villain.
You face some of the greatest evils known to man, and you've defeated them. If you think so highly of yourselves that you can defeat any threat that comes your way,
I actually really like this crossover. The Earth X one.
How do you feel about us?
Yeah, it was so good.
And like you said, you weren't really thinking at the outset about getting to this place of Crisis on Infinite Earths and seeing all of that. Can you talk to us a little bit about just leading up to that and everything that happened before, and maybe like when you got to the point where you're like, yeah, this is something we really want to talk about?
Well, I mean, really, it was so much of our motto behind the scenes was to try and create episodes and seasons and shows that we would want to watch. And so it just inevitably kind of kept going in that direction. One of my fellow EPs, Mark Guggenheim, is my own personal encyclopedia for a lot of knowledge of these things.
Check out that interview.
The centerpiece.
That was a great interview.
Pulling the scope of those things together, and I would be remiss if I didn't just say just how much his own passion for all that has been, very inspiring. But we sort of kept, just building block by block, and then truly in the last couple of years, and again in working with Walter and with Jim. It's really it's kind of taken a whole new level. We never thought we'd even be allowed to do Crisis, that was a pipe dream. We just kind of kept finding new ways to get all of our characters together. And then, the year before we did Crisis, we said, well, what if we just say coming next year, Crisis, and everyone was like, okay, yeah, you can say that. Well, and I was like, well, I guess they've approved it then. Now. And that it was really epic. I mean, there were just so many, obviously, so many Easter eggs and so many different little characters. But then, the guys calling about saying that if we could we possibly fit in Ezra? Is that a possibility? That's really for the first time historically combining a TV character and a film character in that way. Is I think it feels like the beginning of a whole new generation of how we can begin to do these things. And that's just as a storyteller, that's really, really exciting.
Well, I feel like a kid in a candy store being like, we got Crisis on Infinite Earths, what's next? But can you talk a little bit about what's going to happen in the world post Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Well, we are, yes, because certain worlds have been combined, we're mindful of that now. In terms of how that will affect certain shows, and in terms of what our crossover event will be next year. I think truly because of COVID right now and the pandemic. Our aspirations aren't quite as large. We'd just like to start shooting again. That would be, nice.
Yeah.
Happy to invite any feature characters that the guys want to have on. I think that was truly a thrill.
How did that crossover event happen with Ezra? And talk about the conversation of when you guys were like, could this work? Can we get him here?
We'd been developing on the feature side our Flash script for a while, which was leaning into the idea of the multiverse and playing in that sandbox. And again, I'm focused very much on the movies and what we're doing. And Jim was just like, would you, since we're leaning into the multiverse, do you think Ezra would ever do this crossover? I picked up the phone, called him, and before I could even finish the pitch, he was like, I'm in. Tell me when, where. Like, nice. He's just such a fan, I think, of the character, and I think of the universe, and he understands the importance of Flash and the character of his role sort of in that idea of the multiverse, that he immediately jumped on it. And then at that point, it was just Jim ran with it.
We were in a meeting, I think it was Walter, me, Peter Roth was there. We kind of threw out this idea, and Peter was like, let me talk to Greg about this. And this was last minute too, right?
But we had shot the crossover. So
Yeah, exactly. This is like right before the holidays.
We were editing. Like, wait a second. Can Flash also bring us back in time to do this? Because
exactly. Yeah, so we're on the holidays. I knew that we were down the wire, but
Mark talked a little bit about that during the interview.
How meaningful this would be to the fans, because Flash.
Yeah, that was a great moment.
Created the multiverse. That the fact that this had never been done before, and that this was new footage. A lot of the stuff, like with Green Lantern, was kind of old footage. This is new stuff, and we had to track down the costume for Ezra. Luckily, he still fit into it. And Peter, spoke with Greg, and Greg graciously allowed us to do this at the last minute, very last minute. And Mark wrote dialogue at the last second, sent it over. It had to be kind of vague enough to not create too many expectations, but kind of solidify the fact that this is happening, that these Flashes are both the Flash in different universes. And the cool thing is, Ezra's Flash was never named the Flash in the movies. He got his name from meeting Grant, who knew he was the Flash. And that's like so cool to have that cool introduction into the canon, right? And so that was it. And it came together at the last minute, and it worked out great. And those guys kind of improvised and the lines, and
they definitely improvised.
Yeah.
There's a lot of improvisation.
It was touching and funny, and it was just a great moment. And then when it went live, man, people's heads exploded. And then I think,
there were a lot of people who worked on the show and had shot the episode and didn't know that it was in there. So they were watching. There were people that had been in the episode that were watching it live that night that wrote me, I didn't know about this. Did you keep this a secret from me? And I was like, no, I wasn't. We just did it last week.
Yeah.
Is this cosplay? Oh, do you want a selfie, bro?
No, sorry. We're not. No. I'm also the Flash.
You also the what?
The Flash?
Flash?
It seems comfy. Yours is pretty cool. Smooth. Seems safe and
breathable. Found Barry Allen. No! What does that mean?
Great, it was a great moment.
Oh my God! Don't do this to me. I don't know about the what.
That was awesome. I love that scene.
That's big to do anyway. Getting all of the actors from all of the shows and the sets and everything working together at the same pace and timing, and then now throwing in the film piece as well. I feel like all of you guys, just from talking to you and knowing you a little bit, that you're a huge fan. So you're like, we'll do anything to make it work. But what was that moment like for you?
Well, I was honestly, I really do experience these shows just as a fan first, and so when I heard it, I just thought I would want to see that. I would want to see that, let alone be a part of it. And whenever anybody in this business is doing stuff from that place of like, how can we make this thing the best it can be, and how can we deliver something to everybody and that understands and loves these characters as much as we do, then the impossible stuff that seems impossible ends up becoming possible.
I think up to this point, we were the company was just organized in a way where TV was TV and film was film, and
And oftentimes DC and Jim was sort of the arbiter of like, hey, they want to use this character, using this character, and it became this like really weird situation where the fans they love the characters, they just want to see the characters, and this sort of opens the door for us to do more crossovers, to really lean into this idea and just acknowledge the fact that there can be a Flash on TV and one in the movies, and you don't have to pick one or the other. You can love both, and they do both exist in this great multiverse, and I do think that moving forward, there's more opportunities for us to do things like this. And really, at the end of the day, it's about the fans, and I think the fans want to see it, and it gives us a way to sort of explore maybe some different stories and different ideas, and use the medium in a different way than it's been used thus far.
We can just dive in a little bit more into the films, DC films. Walter, for you, what does the multiverse really mean?
What the multiverse allows you to do is sort of lean into this idea of you can tell just great stories, and you don't have to really be as focused on it has to fit within a singular continuity. On one Earth, we have our Gal and Jason and Ezra version of the Justice League, and we can continue telling those stories. While on a separate Earth, we don't have to worry about the continuity. We can have a more grounded, real Year 2 Batman and build out that world, and not really worry about continuity, story elements, and et cetera. And so it's really kind of the best of both worlds, and allows us to take advantage of everything that's great about what we've done, and really allow us to sort of expand moving forward. And we're trying to keep it as simple as that. Like, there is that one Earth, the greater Earth of sort of this existing Justice League, and then the beginnings of another Earth that is sort of happening, that's early stages of Year 2 Batman. And then obviously there are outliers like Joker, which it doesn't exist in either Earth, but that's okay. It's all part of the multiverse. Matt Reeves can continue to build out his Gotham, and he's got great plans to how to build it out, and build it out in a way that's sort of innovative. And they announced recently that there's an idea of taking that Gotham and exploring it at HBO Max as a show. Like, those are things that you can do.
I'm actually pretty excited for that.
We don't have to worry about how that would impact
show.
Aquaman 2, or how that could impact The Flash. So I think it just opens doors for us in ways that you couldn't have if you had to have a singular universe.
So let's get into some of the questions that we've got from fans. The first one is for you, Jim. It's from Van in the U.S. Now that Doomsday Clock has concluded, will we see any more of Alan Moore's comic characters cross over with the DC multiverse?
Probably less on the crossover side. You don't want to, dip into the well too often and kind of make it too regular a thing. It becomes too commonplace. You want to save it for really big, epic storylines where you've got great creators like Jeff Johns, who's able to come in and really deliver, a story worthy of that kind of concept. But we are, there's a spinoff. There's a Rorschach series that Tom King is writing. It's not like necessarily a crossover per se, but we are exploring more of the Watchmen universe. It's obviously got kind of a second life with the HBO TV series, and so it's been kind of fun exploring that. But yeah, that's all I can share at this point.
The next one is for Greg from Swarab Kumar Singh in India. The Crisis on Infinite Earths finale showed that the multiverse is gone, and there exists only one universe and one Earth Prime. But since other shows like Titans, Doom Patrol, and the DC still goes on, is the multiverse actually gone, or is it recreated?
It's not gone. That was to really help us, sort of like the original reason for Crisis, when they were like, oh, we have too many worlds, let's start combining things for the purpose of the books. I think for the purposes of the CW, those worlds are now one. But off network is like being off planet in a different part of the multiverse, but it's still alive and flourishing.
The multiverse. Every existence multiplied by possibility. And spread out before space.
I want some Earth 12 action.
Dude, it makes me want to go back and watch this crossover again. Like, that's all this does, is make me like want to watch it.
And they show Swamp Thing, they're putting this that one season over on CW, and it makes me wonder if they're going to start it back up again.
I think they're going to see what the response is like on the CW audience, and if they can get enough numbers to justify, then you know what I mean?
I hope so, man.
Yeah. Because, man, that was heartbreaking to lose that show.
Okay, well, the the next question is for you from Sumik Day in India. Will we get more multiverse movies or even Elseworlds movies like Superman, Red Sun?
I think it's the possibility is there. It's not.
I'll take
really
that.
Comes down to like.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Hope.
Work within our timeline, and it would work as an Elseworld. We would definitely explore it. I can say we're not currently developing Red Sun, so that isn't one of them. But it really comes down to when the right filmmaker or the right idea comes together. That's the beauty of multiverses. We can explore it. We can go down the road and take a shot at it.
Just go watch the animated.
What we don't want to do is you don't want I don't think you want an Elseworld movie every year, like Clockwork.
I mean, I would watch them, but
we want them to be special. We want to make sure it doesn't just sort of feel like we're just cranking out a volume of different versions of these characters. There has to be a reason for it, and I think it has to be a reason that we're excited about, that we think the fans will be excited about. So
I've really liked what he's done with the film universe.
That one is not one that we're currently.
I agree. Yeah, there's been a really great tone, and the last 2 or 3 movies now I've really been a fan of.
Managing a wide variety of characters, stories, and universes for DC. And how would you work to help keep the audience connected with such a large variety of characters and stories? I imagine that you guys all have like a board somewhere in your house. Like you open the door and it's like, here's the characters in the whole world connected with yarn. I don't think any of you have that. If you do, please show us right now.
Like the serial killer board?
Right. And there's a name for it. One of the comics recently named it, and they were like, "No, it's called this kind of board."
I think that is the challenge. There's so many characters, so many versions, but we have people through film, TV, within Berlanti's company. These are the assets we track and try to make sure that there aren't inconsistencies and that we are constantly communicating between ourselves so that we deliver something that's satisfying and maybe paints a bigger picture. And now that this has been established, this multiverse across all of the content, I think there's going to be a greater need for coordination to kind of deliver even cooler surprises going forward. But I just want to really thank and applaud Greg for really laying the groundwork for all this, because they didn't have to do this. From what I hear from Mark Guggenheim, it's a crazy amount of work, and bringing all these people together to deliver something that.
If you remember, Guggenheim said that he broke a few relationships in order to get characters on the crossover. He was like, "Yeah, dude, you burn some bridges sometimes." That's a big risk.
It's a big sacrifice for.
And it's kind of shown that it can be done, but we just need to be on top of the storylines and where the characters are and how they're being used.
I'm sure this panel is very clarifying for a lot of people that are confused about exactly how that whole thing works. But I feel like
we get to really explore
us comic book fans have been reading about the multiverse for so long, it's kind of like a given.
Yeah, the one thing that's kind of cool about what they're talking about, though, is that now you can have stuff from the movies tie into comics and vice versa, or from the shows, and woo, blend the taffy.
Something on a show, but it doesn't mean that we still don't have to warrant using that character. Certainly any kind of character with that kind of size and scope and that much meaning in the world like this. But so we want to justify our use of any character, but at the same time, ultimately, I think it's in the as we bring all of these characters into live action and to life, it's just so much more enriching and rewarding for everyone. To feel like, okay, the best idea wins, and the best version of the story is going to be what we're all really trying to serve.
I think in the past there's been like, well, features might do something with that, so stay away from it. It could be years before that character ever showed up on the screen, if it even showed up on the screen, and it was clear to us like it doesn't make sense to hold that back from the fans. Let's explore that. And by the way, if they fall in love with the character on TV and we do something in the movies 3 years down the road, all the better. Like, it's just a greater awareness for the characters. And so for us, our board is much smaller because we have fewer things that we're working on. We have within a movie, it's 120 pages, and there's a handful of characters, whereas in TV, there's a bunch of other characters that pop up. So it's a little bit more straightforward for us. I think really Jim is the great sort of, he's the center of everything. So he has to know everything that we're doing in features, everything that's happening in TV, and everything funnels to him. And I think that's great that we have this guy who sort of knows the world better than anybody, who can sort of look at it and kind of go and come up and say, wouldn't it be great if Ezra showed up when met Grant? And like, you don't get that without Jim sort of being sort of at the center of all this. And so I think it's just a great collaborative team, and it's really just the beginning of what we're doing here. I think with just the stuff that we're working on now, the idea of the multiverse, and really HBO Max being this other venue for us to really start to meet in the middle. I think if there was that sense that TV was TV and film was film, Max sort of becomes this place where it's like, it'll be our clubhouse. Well, everything will gather into that space, and we'll be able to explore different opportunities and cross back over. And I'm excited about the potential of all the things that we can do with DC in the multiverse.
Awesome. Well, I want to say a huge thank you to the three of you guys for taking the time to chat with me and all of the fans here in the DC FANDOME. This is such, like, we're talking about different platforms for things, and this is a whole new platform for fans to get to experience the DC multiverse as well. So thank you guys so much. This has been awesome.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thanks,
Thank you, Tiffany. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
That was a cool panel. I like that.
Yeah, that was really good. But Brad, I'm totally with you, man. Like, they're talking about multiverse, like, so here's the concept, and we're all like, uh-huh.
Yeah, especially as DC fans. I mean, that's something we've been dealing with forever.
Right. Before Crisis, after, and everything that sort of like tried to follow up Crisis.
Yeah, it's been like one of the main pillars of DC Comics
The
forever.
good news is that you don't have to wait that long, because we're going right now with the filmmakers and the Flash himself, Ezra Miller.
Time for a Flash. Super excited for this.
I will be muting myself simply out of respect for everyone. I've been doing it along the way, but this one.
I unfortunately
okay.
cannot do that.
I get you, boss.
Otherwise, you won't hear anything.
It's me, Ezra Miller.
Well, I'm quarantined.
And I love his fashion. The guy is just a king.
I'm Andy Muschietti, director of the Flash movie.
I'm Christina Hodson, the screenwriter of The Flash. I haven't spoken to humans in a while, so I'm going to be rusty.
I'm Barbara Muschietti, the producer of the Flash movie.
I play Barry Allen, aka The Flash, in the upcoming Flash movie. And I love you, and I'm excited to be here digitally with you. Flash fact, if you go to the bottom of Andy Muschietti's Wikipedia or IMDb page, you'll see that he actually has a PA credit on the 1996 Madonna movie Evita. Huh. Must ask you more about that, Andy.
Telling the story of one of the greatest superheroes of the DC world is a challenge. The most important thing is that it gets to your heart. Growing up with Batman and Superman and Flash, it was an opportunity to reconnect with childhood experiences reading DC Comics.
Flash fact, DC Comics actually stands for Detective Comics.
The tone for the film, I think, is very much Andy's signature.
He can jump from funny to scary to emotional really fast.
And it's also a time travel story, which I find very exciting.
Andy managed to put these tiny little DC Easter eggs into the It movie.
I like your glasses, Mr. Keene. You look just like Clark Kent.
I don't know about that.
One, he was vying for the job way earlier than any of us knew. Or two, while making the Flash movie, he discovered time travel for real, went back in time, and went to put all these things in just to mess with us. Either way, well played, sir.
You meet Andy, and you immediately can understand why he's the perfect choice for this movie. It's his compassion, his priority in this film of finding the heart of the story.
I'm also excited to see Andy's version of the Speed Force. He happened to have done some doodles that I may or may not have taken and kept. They are literally unlike anything you've ever seen before.
Flash fact, did you know that according to actual comic book canon, Superman is both a vegetarian and a Metallica fan? Which is, of course, impossible. But then again, he's Superman.
Batman lost his parents. Superman lost his planet. Harley Quinn lost her egg sandwich. But Barry, because he's got this ability to go back and manipulate time, he's the only one who can actually go and change his own personal story.
His mother was murdered, his father was framed and incarcerated, and all his journey from then was of a man trying to make things right.
And it sounds like a cliche, but script is everything. When I got to read Christina's first draft, I was just blown away.
The script has really captured his loquacity, his personality.
So you're fast. That feels like an oversimplification.
I fell in love with The Flash when I read Flashpoint. The combination of giant spectacle, action, and fun with this incredibly personal, intimate story of a boy just trying to save his mum.
He's someone who has the power of changing the events of the past, but by doing so can deteriorate the very fabric of the space-time continuum.
The juxtaposition between his vulnerability and his immense power is really what's exciting about superheroes to me. Flash fact: the hippopotamus is faster than the human being.
It's true.
Beware.
Every actor, every director, every writer brings something different to the character.
Barry as a character, and especially the way Ezra plays him, he's a guy with so much heart, so much humor. Spending time with Ezra is kind of like spending time with Barry Allen.
Really, I can feel his passion and his enthusiasm and his creativity.
He was born to play this role.
Flash fact: the first appearance of the multiverse in DC Comics is actually a Flash comic. Flash Comics number 123, The Flash of Two Worlds.
Time travel isn't simple. It's not always a straightforward case of go back and change one thing and another thing changes in the future.
This film is immensely important because if you look around at the DC universe, obviously we have all of these characters that exist within their own bubbles. We even have now multiple iterations of the same story. I'm Batman and Batman. I'm Batman.
Sounds like a cool guy.
This movie, by opening that door that Flashpoint did in the comics, all of these stories and characters can start to collide. Hello?
This should be impossible now.
It should be impossible now?
You don't know about the...
Oh my god, don't do this to me. I don't know about the what?
The cinematic multiverse is going to be born out of this movie. It's born out of Barry's story.
It blows our minds, the levels of possibility that exist within the context of this character in this story.
I can't wait for all of us to be able to sit down in a theater and enjoy these movies in the dark with a lot of people and with great snacks.
So obviously I don't want to spoil too much of the movie. I want you to be surprised when you see it. There's something that I can show you, a little sneak peek.
Oh my god. Oh, nope, sorry, that's my fault. It was an accident.
He just rickrolled every one of us.
It's not my personal playlist, but it might, yeah, that might have been my fault. Back to you, Andy.
So I'd like to share a couple of concept art drawings, and it's Barry Allen's new suit.
Ooh.
As you can see, it's
nice.
more organic.
I like.
You can see light embedded in it. It has been built by his friend Bruce Wayne this time.
I like that.
Flash fact.
Here we
The
go.
first ever Batman movie is actually an unlicensed Batman Dracula movie made by Andy Warhol with a soundtrack by the Velvet Underground. It's unreleased, but there's 39 minutes that have been recovered, and I highly recommend watching them. They're extremely strange.
There are so many potential crossovers in the multiverse. So
Take
many
note
cool
of
things
that.
that you could do.
Love them to do a two-hander with Wonder Woman. I think they would solve a lot of problems, let me tell you.
I'd like to see Game of Thrones crossover. Instead of all the months that it takes traveling from Winterfell to King's Landing, it would happen in 2 seconds. Barry Allen in the Iron Throne.
I
I actually already have a weird behind-the-scenes DC multiverse crossover. My best friend growing up is Rob Pattinson's older sister. So I've actually known the new Batman since he was 2 years old and in diapers.
I would like the Flash to meet in the multiverse.
Baby Batman from the comic.
I want the Flash to meet Nicolas Cage, the person in this world who I believe probably does have the ability to transcend space-time. It's a real proposition.
Yeah, I'll be down. Okay.
Wow, concept art. That's kind of cool. It's a little more than I was expecting.
Yeah, that was cute.
Thank you, Andy, Barbara, Christina, and Ezra.
That was awesome.
I do like the look of that suit, though.
The suit was cool. I like that we can maybe see it charge up with, you know, electricity or light up in certain areas where you can see the piping. Exactly. And is it interesting that they're establishing Batman as kind of like a Tony Stark to Spider-Man, like a Batman to Flash sort of thing?
It makes sense, though.
Yeah, I was thinking the
Sure.
same thing.
Right, but he's got the disposable income.
Yes.
I'm totally loving being a part of this epic DC event.
This one is going to be interesting. The Beyond Batman. So you've got Batman Beyond, Old Man Bruce Wayne receiving a radio transmission from the '66 Batman.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
That's what the description says. So I'm excited to see what it is.
Let's hear more.
Ooh, and it's animated. Sweet.
Nice.
This is top priority. Go ahead, Bruce. A Wayne Powers deep space probe is receiving an anomalous communication. I'm patching it into you now.
Unfortunately. Is that you?
Clearly, that's not me, Terry. But apparently, it's what passes for me on this Earth.
Whoa! Who's the dweeb?
That would be Robin's counterpart.
The Joker. No way. That's the Joker?
That's not the Joker. It's a Joker.
I don't know, Bruce. Your friend with the Liberty Bell hair said the Joker.
No matter which universe he's from, he's a vicious and deadly psychotic.
He's throwing fish at you right now.
One thing's for sure. This Joker could up his thug recruitment game.
Yeah, pick up a fish and start tossing already, slacker. Wait, is he stealing a fish? Oh, this has got to be the dumbest heist. Hey, swell costume, by the way, Bruce. Must have taken forever to get the iron-on bat symbol just right. Oh, this ought to be good.
Actually.
That ride's pretty sway, Bruce.
It is sway, totally.
What an odd thing to say. Hey, Bruce, I just noticed something about your collar.
Again, not my collar. But what is it?
Are the eyebrows painted on?
Don't be. Oh, they are.
You know, my great aunt does the same thing with her eyebrows. Totally works for Aunt Phyllis.
What the?
Now what's going on? Where's this?
I'm not sure. But whatever it is, it must be built on a hill.
Joker could really stand to run a comb through that wig, huh? Oh, easy, Boy Wonder. Let's not forget we're wearing elf shoes and support hose.
And who is he even shushing at this point?
What's with the 57 random telescopes lying around for no reason?
Something's fishy here, Batman.
The Gotham High girls volleyball team's gonna be ticked when they find out their net was stolen.
Actually, I'm not sure what is concerning this trap, but the fact that these two can't seem to find their way out of it.
How about a fish fry? Ooh, fish fry guy here is angling for a promotion. Settle down there, fish fry.
Wait a minute.
What is it?
It's like Dr. Psycho.
Joker.
Does he have a mustache?
Now that is just not right.
Wow, worst hot tub party ever. But on a bright side, Robin is already wearing his bathing suit. Possibly deprive that poor hungry clam of its dinner. Hold up, that's a clam? Very touching. Oh, boy, wonder what a succulent hors d'oeuvre you should make.
It really is quite unsettling.
Well, a giant man-eating clam is... Wait, you're talking about the mustache again, aren't you?
It's mesmerizing. I would have gotten out of this in 2 seconds.
Aunt Phyllis could have gotten out of this in 2 seconds. By the way, Bruce, what do you feed paper mache?
Oh, what a hideous
Yes, Eric.
face.
Definitely does.
Oh, be nice, Venus. Robin's sitting right next to you. You get it? 'Cause she was talking about... Never mind. Mollusk? Some mollusk! Push yourself away, Robin. Is it weird that part of me is rooting for the clam? Can't get the sign! Robin!
How many of you?
I was actually feeling bad for Robin, but then I saw those elf booties again, and well... Hey, what happened?
That's the end of the transmission.
What do we do?
Not sure, but I know what we won't do.
What's that?
We never tell anyone what we saw here today.
Seriously? Not even the mustache?
Never.
I can tell you're serious. Know how? Your eyebrows, very expressive on their own. Why you ever chose to paint?
Don't you start.
Now I want the entire 66 series commentated by them.
Batman has such a great sense of humor. Okay.
And I want the Mystery Science Theater thing that Eric Z pointed out. I want to see that, like the shadows on the screen, like they do on. That'd be so awesome. Terry hopping around.
That would be awesome.
The Suicide Squad.
Yes. Time to find out what we're gonna get a nice long Suicide Squad panel. It's gonna be good. I'm excited to see. Because I mean, they filmed some stuff, so hope we get some footage, something. This is cool. I like that they're putting like stuff kind of in between the panels like this.
Yeah, especially when it's great cosplay like this. Like, these are some amazing outfits. I don't think I'm that good.
Yeah.
I think if I tried to do any sort of outfit, it would not be that good. Like, any of them.
I've done one actual like cosplay where I like made the outfit, and it was for Zenpool, the version of Deadpool. It was pretty cool, but it
Awesome.
It definitely didn't look like as good as well.
Yeah, I kind of want Kelly to pop on here and give us some feedback. Oh, I love these. I binge these sometimes on DC Universe. I love this.
I like watching the stars. Orion and the plough. Polaris. Big triangular thing.
Oh. Right down. I'm sure,
That was awesome.
Sure not everybody is as entertained by those as us, but
I love them every time. That killed me. And the plow.
I will call upon this next group to help me out. As you know, director James Gunn announced in February that filming had wrapped for the Suicide Squad. And right now, he's taken a break from the edit bay to be here with us to discuss his vision for the film, answer fan questions, and have some insanely crazy fun with the cast. And, of course, share some never-before-seen content with us. Check it out.
This is amazing. I'm so excited to be here at DC FANDOME with all the amazing DC fans. As many of you know, the Suicide Squad is by far the most fun I've ever had making a movie. I am still working hard on it every day from morning till night, but we're having a great time creating something incredibly special for people. And I'd like to take this break now to take some questions from you guys.
Hey James, when was the first time you ever read Suicide Squad as a comic book? And who was your favorite character?
I read John Ostrander's original run of Suicide Squad. So I remember reading the very first issue of that run and falling in love with the concept, with the characters. I loved the movie The Dirty Dozen that came out back in the 60s. And this was like a super villain version of The Dirty Dozen. And I loved the character of Amanda Waller, who was so different for the time, in terms of being such a strong woman, but not kind of an anti-hero, but kind of bad, kind of good, not physically the same as everybody else you saw in comic books. And I just thought she was so cool. And of course, I loved all the characters and Boomer and everybody. And I just had a great time reading that initial run.
My name is Maisha Kondakar, and I'm a loyal DC fan, and I'm making this video from Dhaka, Bangladesh. I have a question for James Gunn. Which DC character were you most excited to write about for the Suicide Squad movie, and why?
Maisha, I think the character that I was the most excited to write for was Harley Quinn. I've loved this character ever since Paul Dini first put her in animated shows. I think that there's a sort of chaotic trickster god nature to her where she's just always going off in random directions, and as a writer, that's a really fun thing to deal with because she takes you in places where you don't know you're going to go. So
That questioner had the best background.
Yeah.
That was soaked with all the books and everything. I was like, dude, way to get ready for a shot.
Hey, Jake from State Farm.
Jake from State Farm.
Crashes and explosions,
I love that he's wearing the State Farm shirt.
I cannot confirm the exact amount of explosions and crashes, but I will say that we have about as many explosions and crashes in this film as in any film ever. In fact, the guy who did all of our special effects on this film, Dan Sudik, who has done almost all of the Marvel movies, great movies, says that there are more effects in this film than all of those movies he's done combined. So we have quite a huge special effect explosion extravaganza for you guys.
You've said Ostrander's run was influential, but what else inspired you to feature these under-the-radar characters?
That is an amazing question, and one I'm excited to answer because I actually had a long talk with John Ostrander, about this because he came and he visited the set. And I said, I don't think of this movie so much.
I'd like to be on the fly on the wall for that.
Of your comics. I think of this movie as a sequel to your comics, to your run in the comic books. What would John Ostrander be doing with these characters, if it was 30 years after he first started? And so I think that it has the spirit and the lifeblood of the Ostrander books, but I also like to continuously take in new supervillains, other supervillains who have sometimes been in the Suicide Squad comics over the years, but also a lot of, characters like Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher who have never been in the Suicide Squad, but who I just think are great DC villains who have something to offer and that we could have put into the movies. So that is where my
That's something that I'm really excited about. It's just all
Who were
these
your favorite villains as
D-list
a kid?
villains.
And did working on this movie teach you anything new about these quote-unquote villains?
Wow, who were my favorite villains growing up? Well, I was a huge
That's a good question.
fan, and I'm going to tell you who my favorite villain was, and maybe it's a little embarrassing, but I'm not embarrassed by it. It was Batmite. I loved Batmite. I thought he was hilarious and creepy as heck. So Batmite was definitely my favorite supervillain, and don't think I didn't think about putting the...
That was my next question. Batmite in Suicide Squad?
Suicide Squad, and I absolutely love the direction of the movie. But is it true that Flora Borg is playing Javelin Man? And if so, why? Also, is Nathan Fillion playing Blackguard?
Hey Milan, is Flula playing Javelin Man? Well, his name isn't exactly Javelin Man, but in mere moments we are going to see who Flula and Nathan are playing in the film.
Now I'm hooked.
I'll give you a hint. One of them you got pretty correct, and the other one you didn't get correct. And there's a lot of people all over the internet who have theories about who people are playing, and sometimes they've been right, and sometimes they've been wrong. And so I guess we're going to answer all those questions in a minute. But I will tell you one thing, which is Flulaborg is the funniest guy in the entire world and incredibly strange. But he's become a good friend through all this, and he's a great guy. And Nathan, of course, has been in all my movies. He's already been a friend. Here it comes, the time that so many of you guys have been waiting for. Who is who in the squad? You've heard a lot of the actors that are in this movie. You don't know who they're playing. Maybe you have some good guesses. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're wrong. We'll have to see. But here it is. Everything.
You know the deal. Successfully complete the mission, you get 10 years off your sentence.
Welcome to Task Force X. These are your brothers and sisters for the next few days.
Savant. Just Javelin, not Javelin Man. I love David Duff's motion. He's great. Idris Elba, yes. Bloodsport. King Shark. Mongol. Okay. Peter Capaldi. Yes. Thinker.
What a cast.
Nathan Fillion, yes, TVK. Sean Gunn is Weasel. Love it, love it. I love that Boomerang's coming back. Cena? Nice.
That was huge.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Here we go. We are introducing the cast.
Nice.
The characters are playing of the Suicide Squad. First of all, we have Idris Elba as Bloodsport.
Nice.
Hey.
John Cena as Peacemaker. David Dastmalchian as Polka Dot Man. Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang. Nathan Fillion as TDK.
Look at that mustache.
Borg as Javelin. This is like a really messed up Brady bunch. Daniela Melchior is Ratcatcher 2. Pete Davidson is Blackguard. Sailing Ing as Mangao. Michael Rooker, unfortunately, is Savant. I put him in the movies. I deal with the devil. Peter Capaldi as the Thinker.
I'm actually excited for that.
Sean
Really.
Gunn is Weasel.
Good job.
Steve
Gunn.
Agee is John Economos and our on-set King Shark.
Nice.
Alicia Braga as Sol Soria. Juan Diego Botto is General Presidente Silvio Luna. Real great guy. Joel Kinnaman Six Flag. Viola Davis is Amanda Waller. And of course, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. Go here! Together again!
Get together.
That's awesome.
Are you excited to be
Huge
part
cast
of DC
of
FANDOME?
characters for it.
I can't believe they got everyone on for this.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Well, we're going to have some fun here. We're going to have some competition, which it's not fun unless there's somebody winning and somebody losing. And so I would like to have a couple of team leaders, and I think it only makes sense that we have the people in charge of the Suicide Squad, Viola Davis and Joel Kinnaman, as our team leaders.
Hey, team leaders.
And why don't you guys go ahead and let's pick team.
Bloodsport.
Thanks, Bart. Thanks.
Definitely.
All right, I'll take my girl, Harley Quinn.
All right.
Yay.
I will take Savant.
Oh, good for you. What a bad mistake.
That is a bad pick. That is. And you guys have scenes together too. I can't believe you made that mistake.
I gotta tell you, you just made a big mistake.
John Cena. I'll take John Cena.
I want to reassure you that that is a horrible decision.
No, I already know that.
I'm gonna take my boy, King Shark.
Okay, I will take my man Boomer, Jai Courtney.
All right.
Ratcatcher.
Ratcatcher 2.
I will take Flula Borg, the Javelin.
Yes. I guarantee we will lose.
Not Javelin Man.
Yes.
No.
I'm gonna have to grab the weasel.
Oh, good man.
That's not on Rooker's team. Yes.
Yes.
Is that everybody?
Run out of names.
What about what's makes me feel really bad.
Yeah, how can they not pick Doctor Who?
There's only
So
one
sad.
high school again. Did someone?
It totally feels like high school.
This is what it was
Yeah,
like.
you're the
The
thinker,
basketball
Violet.
team.
Yeah, the thinker.
Right idea.
Violet picks the thinker.
Nathan
You guys are losing already.
DK.
With that wicked mustache.
El Presidente. El Presidente.
That stash is legendary.
Nobody apparently wants Pete Davidson.
Picked by Joel.
Yeah, thank you, Joe.
Pete, this is sad. Victory cigarettes.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. That was a good pick, Black Guard. Okay.
That went well. I think that went really well.
And then let's start off. We're going to go head to head, and we're going to start off with the team captains. Let's do Joel and Viola. I'm going to pick. This is a good question.
Okay.
I know both of you know so much about the lore of DC Comics. There's a multiple choice, so you don't have to look terrible. Out of all the squad members, who are the only characters to have had their own comic series? There's 2 of them, and I'm gonna list 4 options. A, Harley Quinn and King Shark. B, Harley Quinn and Amanda Waller. C, Harley Quinn and Peacemaker. Or D, Harley Quinn and Boomerang. Which 2 have had their own series?
Harley Quinn and Boomerang.
Harley Quinn and Peacemaker.
Boom! Yes! That's correct!
Lord have mercy.
Wow!
Even look. Even I knew that.
Man, it'd be awesome if it was, though.
Polka Dot Man.
Polka Dot Man! Again?
Mr. Sean Gunn.
Weasel versus Polka Dot Man. Old friends.
Oh,
I want a softball.
Oh, yeah, you have the special guest.
¿Qué tal, amigos? Hola. ¿Cómo están? How are you? I've got a question. What career military man probably wishes he'd never followed in his dad's footsteps?
Joaquin, the great Coachy Loco.
Rick Flag Jr.
I had Super Grover. Is Super Grover? It's not Super Grover.
Wrong, Sean.
Junior.
You're wrong. Wrong canon.
Points for creativity.
Now, there's no multiple choice. You just got to answer right away, and you have to have it be the right choice.
Okay.
Who has more tattoos, Harley Quinn or Pete Davidson?
Harley Quinn? No.
Pete, Marvel gets another point.
I was thinking about this character. Oh.
I thought we were shooting.
This is a language. This is a misunderstanding.
That's always your answer when something goes wrong. Who's next?
The Bond.
Billion. TDK.
What is the government's official code name for the Suicide Squad?
I thought it was the Suicide Squad.
No.
The only thing I know.
Mei Ling's dying over there.
There's
extremely.
Oh shit! They have whiteboards all of a sudden.
Task Force X. I can't say that even if I knew the answer.
You said it.
Task Force X.
You say it in the movie. Some of these are too easy. Hey, can we go to like one of our secret guest questions?
Hey guys, which team member would you sacrifice first?
Correct answer.
That's a rough question.
Are you serious?
Is that what you said, Steve?
I said.
What's the answer, Jen?
I would have to go with Savant because he's played by Michael Rooker, and if anyone here has ever had to spend a day working with Michael Rooker, I think they'd probably have the same answer.
You know what? People are always like that. They always want to get rid of the most dangerous one first. Yeah, I understand where the skills come from.
All right, we're going to have Flula versus Elise. Oh, boy! Which character made his or her first full appearance in Superboy number 9 in 1994? A. Mongal. B. King Shark. C. Bloodsport. D. The Thinker.
May I ask a question, Mr. Gunn?
No. Yeah.
When you say full appearance, does this mean like everything was exposed? Is it
The character was not fully exposed. No, the character had some items of clothing on.
Got it. Then I would answer King Sharky.
I was going to say B.
B. King Shark. How did you guys know that?
No. Oh, I said King Sharky. That's incorrect. So
Okay, so it goes to Elise.
yeah, sorry. Jeopardy rules, guys. Pronounce it right.
Like not even crush it.
Wait, he doesn't get that?
You can't just give away the point.
You can fool her. You can't give away your point, dude.
Why not? I give away snacks at lunch. Have my point.
Hey.
Even on your team?
Yeah, Flula's on my team.
What are we doing right now? What's happening?
You keep complaining.
He's not on our team? Oh, never mind.
You're on Viola's
Thank you.
team.
Wait, I'm not on Rooker's team?
I thought you were on my team, too. But no,
Oh.
you're not on my team.
Okay. Wait. We have another special question. Why don't we do the last special question?
Hi guys, so now I have a serious question for you guys. I'm gonna test your smarts. Who shot Superman? Was it J.R. Ewing, Peacemaker, Bloodsport, Amanda Waller? Let me know.
That is Storm Reed.
My daughter.
Which of your characters is in prison for shooting Superman?
Bloodsport.
Bloodsport.
That's correct. Bloodsport is in prison for shooting Superman.
With a Krypton bullet.
Storm Reed turns in an amazing performance in the film, and some of the most memorable scenes, like really, she's like amazing in the movie. Really, truly.
What movie is that?
Oh my God.
Is there anybody left? Pete, who's left?
Blackguard.
Against two.
Flula.
Oh, great!
Oh,
Okay.
Flula.
Who will lose first, Pete? What comic book series did the Suicide Squad debut in? A. The Brave and the Bold. B. The Bold and the Beautiful. C. The Bravest of the Bold. Or D. Time to Die Hard. Yeah.
The Brave and the Bold.
Pete, it's yours.
Pete, you did it!
All right. Idris Elba, Bloodsport, versus Mei Ling, Mongal. Okay, question. Which character... Oh, this isn't fair. Oh, well. Question. Which character goes into the mission armed with the most weaponry?
Bloodsport.
Oh, isn't it Polka Dot?
Yeah.
Polka Dot's got all the dots that can and bombs.
More of a condition.
Polka Dot can do. I mean, he's got hundreds of weapons on him.
Well, it's just one weapon. It's polka dots.
I think she's got a good point.
Bloodsport pulls off all the different kinds of weapons.
Vandals.
I didn't get the script.
The Mandal's weapon that he wears in the movie?
Oh, come on. Leave those
I was actually...
Really?
I was editing a scene yesterday, Idris, where and I noticed for the first time that you're going up the side of a wall in your mandals. Well, he always was. I guess he was always wearing his mandals in that scene. I just never noticed till yesterday.
Danielle loves those mandals, don't you, Daniela?
Okay, who's next? If given the chance, which superhero would your character like to take down?
It's not about taking anybody down. It's about trying to bring yourself up. You know, spread some positive vibes.
Cena for president. After that answer, I'm going to vote for John. That's it. Which new addition to the squad was the biggest surprise to you?
I think Weasel was the biggest surprise. You're going to expect him to be this crazy animal. He can't even. I mean, come on.
Wait till you see Weasel in action in the movie.
How is the movie? How does it look?
It's amazing. It's amazing. Like really, truly, it's just the most fun I've ever had. I love the movie. The studio is overwhelmingly happy with the movie.
Wow.
It's the action is great. It's funny. And it's really dramatic in the right places and very touching. It's great. And all of you guys, I mean, just down the line, it's just the greatest cast I've ever worked with by far. Just every single person is
for Michael Rooker,
amazing.
right?
It's just a wonderful lifetime. It was a blast to make, and it's just cutting together just completely fluidly. Honestly, I'm so grateful to all of you guys, except for Rooker.
I wonder if we'll see actual footage then.
But I can cut around them pretty
So
easily.
much of it, you know.
So
He's looking at me every day on the cutting room floor. They don't even do that anymore, do they? It's all digital.
They made it digital for you, so we don't even have to look at you on the cutting room floor.
Oh, friends.
Amazing experience it wasn't for both of you and all these guys. You know, the atmosphere on that set was so positive. It's such a warm, wonderful, supportive place to be. You know, not everybody has been in a big superhero movie, even if they've been Doctor Who or anything like that. So to walk onto a set like that can be quite intimidating. But the welcome that you and everybody here provided was just fantastic. So thank you and everybody here for that.
Leave it to the British guy to come in right at the end and say something beautiful. Stupid.
That's what I'm here for. That's why I'm called the thinker.
Steve, where are you? You got competition.
Even though she haven't been keeping very good score, is Viola Davis's team.
Damn it!
So you guys, right? I have a little something special in store for you, which we have you guys right now, and everybody out there in the DC Fandome universe are going to be the first to see a little behind-the-scenes action from the Suicide Squad.
I think it's going to surprise people.
You kind of sit there and go, how did they do that?
It's going to be different from any superhero movie ever made.
There's no one better in the world to direct the Suicide Squad than James Gunn.
I love
I
how
was excited with an opportunity to be able to do the Suicide Squad in the way it could be done from my point of view.
This one is completely unique. This is a gritty 1970s war movie combined with the brilliance of James Gunn's characters and comedy.
You need your director to set the vibe.
The Suicide Squad is just a twisted fantasy of characters.
Within each of our characters, there's a certain beauty. Within most of them. Some of them are just pretty crappy through and through.
Be like a douchey Captain America.
The guy who believes in peace at any cost, no matter how many people he needs to kill along the way.
Okay, I got it.
Don't ever settle back like you think you know where this is going, because you don't.
As soon as you have some sense about what's about to happen next, James comes in.
Everyone's exploding. Genitals, heads, arms, legs.
It's like a big, massive graphic novel brought to life.
This is by far the biggest movie I've ever made.
Ooh, King Shark action.
Know what to expect.
Don't get too attached.
This has been truly the greatest, most exciting journey of my life making this film. Cut. That was great.
It looks so good.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was.
Anyway, I can't wait for everybody to see The Suicide Squad in theaters all the way in August 6th, 2021. We're still working on it, but man, I am so excited for everybody to see it. And I am grateful for everyone out there in the DC universe who came and checked out and hung out with us for a little while and saw this train wreck that would have gone perfectly smoothly. Not for Michael. So, thank you guys.
Way to go, Viola and your team for the win. Ça va, DC Fandome? I'm Terry LTM, your French host, and I've got a big admiration for James Gunn and the cast. What a great teamwork. Now I'm even more excited for the Suicide Squad movie than before. How about you? Tweet us at #DC Fandome. And next, we have a very special DC fan
tweet us
guest
at
with a
DC
question
Comics
for Idris
News.
Elba. Gael, mon fils, take it away.
Hey guys, this is going to be my checkout. Thanks for everything. It was a great time hanging out.
Thanks for being here.
I was going to check out too to go stretching my legs for a minute.
Oh man. Yeah, I got to go feed some dogs. But see if I can hop on for the later sections, okay? Take care, guys. Bye, DC Comics News Nation.
Kickboxing and a little bit of boxing. When I was training for this film, because there was a lot of work that we had to do, I basically didn't do a sport. I did a sort of general training package, which was more centered around my kickboxing training. So that's lots of circuits, lots of cardio work, a little bit of weight training to get those big muscles up, and yeah, essentially working on that particular film, the work rate was so high. We were training every day on the job. So that's me.
Turns out Gael isn't the only tennis player who is a massive DC fan. Now let's check in with two other mega fans who, like us, share a mutual love for Wonder Woman. Tennis star Venus Williams and director Patty Jenkins.
Williams, I'm so psyched that I get to meet you. It's amazing. It's so funny because here I am making Wonder Woman, and I'm constantly inspired by the different Wonder Women in the world, and you're like a quintessential one.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to meet you too. Congratulations. You look amazing. I love your style, but more than anything, I love your work.
Thank you.
To talk to you about it because I've got questions.
I know, me too. So I love the fact, it's very funny because now has come this time that I'm getting to make the Wonder Woman film, but there are so many people like both of us who grew up looking at Wonder Woman, and I don't think that people understood the significance of who she was in the world. So I would love to hear, I'm so interested that you were a Wonder Woman fan too, and what's your history? How did you get into her?
Yeah, so for me, I grew up on Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, right?
Oh yeah.
She was beautiful and she could do anything and she saved the world, and that for me was my first introduction to Wonder Woman, and it was so iconic. And then after that, actually I was more introduced to Linda Carter as Wonder Woman and then on to DC Comics. So actually Wonder Woman was my first introduction into comics at all. And it really just started there.
If you had to create a superhero, what would you add to the party?
I gotta say, I was just talking to Jim Lee, and we created a superhero named, ironically enough, I can't believe no one thought of this, Venus.
That's amazing.
So this superhero, she is antimatter and, the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor, so she's somewhere in between and lives in the space between matter and antimatter. We just started talking and creating this character, so I think that's it.
I love the sound of that. And I also love, it's funny that we've had so few, there are plenty of great female superheroes, but so few of them have risen to a huge amount of focus. And I like that adds this whole other thing to the party, like many other the male superheroes have branched out to all of these different dimensions. That's a great one to bring forward.
I think so. And I think in my head, to me, there's good and bad in her. So she's trying to always stay towards the good, but she has tendencies.
It's been interesting kind of modeling power and grace and beauty yourself. How has been taking on that role yourself in this world been?
I really just try to be my best.
Yeah.
Be who I am, and most of all, I want to be proud of who I am and what I do when I look back, and not cringe and say, "My God, did I do and say that?" That's not the memory I want.
Yeah.
I want to look back and be proud of how I've handled all of my moments, and in doing that, it's motivating to others, and you never know what's going to be motivating someone else. And there's so many things that have motivated me that other people have done. They never even knew that they touched my life. And so just by the simple act of being positive, allowing the wins and the losses and the tough spots to just roll off of you, you never know who's watching, who you inspire. And quite obviously, Wonder Woman does inspire lots of women in that sense.
Yeah, and you do too. And that's another thing is like what I like is Wonder Woman always surprised me. You know, she always surprises me by not having to be showy about her power and not having to be belittling or not having to be all these things that we sort of
I'm gonna
saw
hop off for
her
just a
doing.
few minutes.
Okay.
I'll
Kind of
be
define
right
all of
back.
these things now as an entrepreneur because we all knew of you as a great tennis player, but then you've turned around.
How you guys
and
liking
started
this fandom so
amazing
far? Let me know in the
clothing line.
comments.
Yeah, there really is no limit, and
I think
with
they've been actually doing a really good job so
that
far with
is
it. So.
honestly the value of it is that you're going past the 10. You don't set a limit.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Being well, being positive, all those things help you to get past your limits. So you do have to take care of yourself so you can get there. And we always say better, not best. So best is a moment. I won Wimbledon at some point, but then maybe I didn't win the next year and someone else was the best at that moment. But if you're always going for better, then you're constantly transcending that moment best.
That's really cool. I love 11. I got a chance to sneak peek your Wonder Woman inspired line, which is so awesome. And here's what I like about it so much. And it's funny because it doesn't surprise me that it came from you at all. When I first came to the Wonder Woman brand, people either wanted to go too hard or too soft. It was like, is she masculine or is she feminine? And it was an interesting thing that it was when a bunch of women showed up that we were kind of like, no, it can be both. So I love that you as a designer are, of course, like speaking my language of like, oh, that's got such edge and awesomeness to us, but to everybody. But it's not leaning. It's not about being a woman or a man.
I agree with you. Women are powerful and men are powerful too. So you don't have to try to be either or.
Yeah.
We all have an innate power in ourselves.
So how did you approach the line?
I really wanted to do something that really represented Wonder Woman, but in a less traditional sense.
Yeah.
So it's away from the red, white, and blues, but focused on stars. And especially with, of course, Linda Carter, I'm inspired by that. And I have to say, every time I design an outfit for the Olympics, it's designed after Wonder Woman. So I have like this inspiration behind it. And every 4 years, this outfit that I wear is inspired by Wonder Woman. But this time I wanted to stick with the symbolism of her and not necessarily that color palette. So that's how we came up with this sparkling star, black and white. Anyone can wear a black and white, and there's gold in it as well. And then these elements of surprise and wonder. And so we have these crystals with the amazing Wonder Woman crest.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
I think we talked about this already, but your first memory of Wonder Woman and kind of, well, you can talk about that, but also like connect that memory of Wonder Woman to where you are now.
Yeah.
Film.
Yeah.
What's that feel like? And does it feel full circle? Because to me, it feels like something you were meant to do.
Here's what's interesting about it. So my first memory of Wonder Woman is my mom never let us watch TV, and or alternately, we didn't have a TV. So I saw it at a friend's house, and I just remember just like the catnip zeroing in on it. And immediately the thing that it turned into was the role play on the schoolyard. I was in elementary school and everybody would play who they were. And I remember it became imperative to get out onto the yard first so that you could declare you are Wonder Woman. So all these years later, when it became something I got to do, there were lots of Wonder Woman fans, but it was very important to me that whoever did the movie was a fan, and I was. So I found myself in this situation where it's both totally surreal that you get to be the one to do it after having a childhood connection. On the other hand, I was like, well, I don't know who else is a fan here trying to direct this movie, but I know that I am. So I'm happy that it's somebody who can be a guardian of that legacy, you know. And that was the first thing I did was call Linda Carter. And I called Linda and I said, you're going to read in the trades that we're doing a new Wonder Woman, and I want you to know we're not here to reinvent Wonder Woman or redesign Wonder Woman. I simply want to take the torch of something you gave to me and pass it forward to the kids of the next generation and people of the next generation. And so I want to continue that. She's been a dear friend ever since, but it was about kind of honoring that legacy.
Okay, so why do you think that it's important to not only have real but fictional role models that are like Wonder Woman?
My mother is a feminist and like really shielded me in a way from a belief that I would hit limits. And so I feel like between the Wonder Womans of the world and the way that I grew up, nobody was ever telling me I couldn't. And I was seeing, so I was able to look at other women in the world doing incredible things. And, you know, athletes and actresses and, you know, scientists and all of these things and think like, oh, okay, cool. I wasn't focusing on that it wasn't possible. I always thought it was perfectly possible. It took many years for me to see how far behind we still were in so many ways. And that's too bad. But I think that that's always been my goal, is to be a part of, like, let's not fight and let's not justify and do all of those things. Let's just assume, of course, it's possible that all of these people can do so many things. So it is the seeing it and seeing people like you out in the world doing incredible things that, of course, makes it seem attainable to other people.
I love that. I feel like we grew up in the same home.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to say can't. You were in major trouble if you said that. We weren't really allowed to watch TV unless it was educational programs. So I think you have a lot of stories. A lot of stories we could share.
I know.
In the multiverse, you live like right there too, but just another planet.
Yeah, exactly. I think that your parents, or of course I faced a lot of blocks, but it wasn't like I wasn't thinking there was going to be sexism that held me back at all. I was absolutely just propelling forward. And so I think that's where, like, having an idealized world and being raised in a place where you believe that sort of thing is possible makes a big difference of, like, you can do things. And so, yeah, modeling it for kids and people is amazingly important.
Extremely important. What do you think sets Wonder Woman apart from other superheroes?
I think it's her moral hopes for mankind. I can't think of any other superhero who, I think a lot of them who have great morality, of course, and lots of complex things, but someone whose mission even is to make mankind better. She's not perfect or above it either. So her own struggles to figure out how to use her power
It's actually a really cool conversation.
Is so interesting.
I don't think it was on the schedule,
I loved graphic
so this
novels
was kind
right
of a
from the
surprise.
start because I loved Little Nemo and Slumberland, and I would look at all of these graphic novels, and then I loved superheroes, so I transitioned pretty easily over to sometimes comic books, sometimes more highbrow.
So just so you guys know, we have there's 2 more panels
books
before
and
this
it came quite
stream will end.
Quite naturally.
After the Legacy of the Bat panel, this stream will end. There is a link in the description for part 2, which will start with the Chris Daughtry performance at 420. So just be sure that once this one ends, you go into the description and you click that link so that you can join in for the second part.
You know, I hate saying women because if you're a director, you should be the best director. If I'm a tennis player, I should be one of the best tennis players to ever play. Why should I have to be singled out for these other things? So regardless, sometimes this is how the world looks at us, and we know that women do face
And if you're watching on
more
Facebook,
challenges
there's separate
to get
posts
to
on the
top.
Facebook
So
page.
what is your
for all
advice,
3
and
parts
how did you
that
feel when you faced those
so you know.
roadblocks? How did you get through them?
It was after I was successful, actually. After I had made Monster that I started to see, oh, I'm a woman director. Oh, I wasn't thinking about that. And all of a sudden I started to see limitations or hopes or wants or expectations on me because of that. And that was when it really surprised me. It's because I thought, oh, I wasn't thinking about being a woman. I'm just a director. Yes, I make movies starring women, but we're not women films. We're just making films. Almost Wonder Woman-like. I've always tried to say, that's their problem. Like, this is their problem. I'd love to help you with it by surprising you with what I can do. But I have to focus on what I'm doing over here and do the best job I can while you get over your expectation of what people can do, I can't be bothered. And I want to always be a part of the voice of change in as big of a way as I can. But also not let that get in your head. So I try to just aim to be end-minded, you know?
Last questions from my end is, let's talk about the Amazons and Wonder Woman and how amazing that they look in their outfits and how boss they are. I love all of that. Can we talk about like stone women, costumes, and all of that?
There are many set patterns for doing warfare and competition, but they all are very specifically masculine, which you don't really think about until you start trying to design it. And the fighting is, like I said, headbutting and, you know, so getting into what they would do, what competition would be, how it would work, and what kind of clothing they would wear. It's not unlike you and how you dress and the things that you design, where it's like they don't need to be sexed up in an inconvenient way, but they also wouldn't not care about what they look like. They'd also care and have ownership in what they're thinking that what they're putting on is both functional and cool. It's a fun thing to try to represent an entire world in this incredible tribe of Amazons. It reminds me of the kind of sports I've watched you do, so that makes me so happy.
Stay in touch. I love this whole conversation.
Me too.
We're in the same home.
I know, and I mean it when I say, like, it's so funny because I really do sit around and talk about what Amazons are and what Wonder Woman is, and you literally are out there in this world walking around, like, demonstrating it all the time. And that's what's so cool is, like, being the director of it, sometimes people will say, I've never seen a movie like that before. And I'm like, yeah, but you see the women, you've seen the women, you've seen people like you, so it's interesting that it's such an unusual thing. So nice to meet you. What a pleasure. What a pleasure. Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Bye. Bye.
Cool. And so it looks like the Women of Color in the DC Universe panel is what is next, which I'm pretty excited about. It's just a portion from what the description is, a portion of the
I had no idea
panel,
Venus was such a huge DC
which you
fan
can find
like
the
us.
longer
Not only do we
conversation
here in the DC fandom
in
want
the
to know what
McDuffie
you
Theater,
out there in the fanverse think,
which I
but
believe
we
is in the
also want to
Watchverse
know
Island.
what
I don't
you
know if
can
it
do.
will be available
We asked,
directly
and you
after
didn't
this,
disappoint.
or if you have
sent
to
in
wait
the best
3
of
weeks to
your
watch
best
the rest of
cosplay
that
fan art,
conversation.
and here just
I
a sample
honestly don't
of
know.
the amazing
but,
talents out there
I
in
guess
the
we'll
DC
see.
fandom.
That's cool. Oh, wow. Nice. I'm a sucker for some great artwork. I can't draw or anything like that myself, but I love, like, anytime I go to a con, like going down Artist Alley and like buying art prints and things like that. It's one of my favorite things.
What is a boss? It is someone who's confident, reaches their goals, and uses their inner strength as a superpower to get through life. You do not want to miss this next conversation as we gathered some of the most electrifying females from Megan Good to Candy Spaden, the new Batwoman, Javisha Leslie, and more for a conversation we called Boss, Female of Color within the DC Universe, moderated by celebrity DJ D Nice and Grammy Award-winning singer Estelle.
What's a boss? 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 It's me. That's me. That's me. That's me.
What's happening, folks? How you feeling? Welcome to the DC Fandom. My name's Estelle,
And my name is D Nice, and welcome to Boss, Females of Color within the DC Universe panel.
right, we're going to start off by introducing some of the panelists today. Megan Good, who plays Darla Shazam on Shazam the film.
And I'm a big fan of this show. Candace Patton, who plays Iris West Allen on The Flash.
We got Nafisa Williams, who plays Anissa, Thunderbird, Blackbird on Black Lightning.
Yes, and we have Chantel Tweed, she plays Grace Joy on Black Lightning.
We got Javicia Leslie, who plays Ryan Wilder, aka Batwoman, on Batwoman.
Hey.
We also have Anna Joe,
she will,
who plays Coriander on Titans.
Yes.
Hey, we got
awesome.
Damaris Lewis.
I've interviewed her before during a roundtable panel at, I believe it was New York Comic Con 2018.
And we have Tala Ash, who plays Zari Tarazi on DC's Legend of Tomorrow.
Awesome. So, okay, so we want to start this off with taking a minute to congratulate the newest boss of the entire group, Javicia Leslie, the first Black actress to play Batwoman. Look, this is huge news, given that only a few iconic Black actresses, Eartha Kitt, Halle Berry, and recently announced Zoe Kravitz, I know to hang around the Batcave, like, but you know, they're Catwoman. Javicia said she want to be Batwoman. So, you know, that's a huge thing. So we want to congratulate you and big you up for even doing that. You know what I mean?
Thank you so much.
So awesome.
Well, who was kind of like your blueprint? Who do you think? Who was a person that you said, "Oh, this is why I want to do this"?
I've always truly admired Eartha Kitt, but I admire Eartha Kitt even outside of acting. I love her for her activism and the fact that she used her art for activism. And just her mentality in general, the things that she would say and how dynamic they were, and then just as a woman and the power that she had as a woman.
That's incredible. Do you got a question?
Yes. So I have a question for Anna. How's playing the role of Starfire changed your life?
It's a big question. I think as many people know, when I was cast, there was a lot of backlash. Because people were upset that some people were upset that it was a Black woman that they cast, and I had to lean into my friends and my family and my faith, I guess, in a way that I haven't ever really had to do before, and also it's been incredible to see what that meant for a lot of people. A lot of marginalized people reach out to me, be it Black or gay or trans or whatever.
I hated when that happened. It was because I love her as Starfire, and
some small
people just love to
inspiration for them.
just jump on anything. It's ridiculous.
It's definitely important during this time as well.
I'll throw one up to anybody who wants to answer. Like, when you're a BIPOC, seeing someone who looks like he played a character you've grown up loving is super powerful. I know that playing Garnet. Now, how does it make you feel knowing that you may be someone's first introduction to the world of superheroes? Like, what is the thing? How does it feel when the kids react to you or the people say?
I remember really early, we started our show in 2014, and I remember shortly after we aired, I remember getting a tweet from a mom, and she was saying that her and her daughter were watching The Flash, and her daughter was watching my character, and she was like, "Mommy, Iris West is so beautiful. She looks just like me. Does that mean that I'm beautiful too?" And she tweeted that to me, and I get teary-eyed to this day thinking about it. And I remember tweeting her back and saying, "Yes, tell your daughter we are beautiful. Like, remind her we are beautiful."
My daughter's 8 years old, and when I told her that, I was doing this with you guys, she was like, are you serious? Can I come in? Can I sit with you?
Okay, so with Damaris, all right, so you've been in this industry as a whole for a while, right? Whether it's you being a model, you dance for Prince, like you've done some things in your life, and I've been part witness to a lot of it, and now you're a superhero. I remember seeing you on the screen and thinking to myself, she better work. That's literally my first thought upon seeing you in your role. As you move forward in your career, what exactly was the point of pivot? What was the point where you said, I'm going to do this? Go.
First of all, full circle moment, just the fact that you and Dee have been part of my journey. I think are always showing up. The pivot for me was when I started getting booked for being different. And that's when I realized that being different was my superpower. I have spent my entire life, I had the luxury of working with Prince and have him being my mentor. And this is a person who prided himself on being different. But until it happens to you, you don't really believe it. And so, modeling is one beast, dance is another beast, acting is another beast. And I've always been that kid in the corner. I've always been that person that thought a little bit differently. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of examples of what happens when you think differently.
I will tell you, you were a superhero when I first met you. I met you because of Estelle at one of Prince's shows.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
the way you were walking across the stage, it was like, well, who is this? Like, it was just so confident to walk across the stage like that with Prince, and to see the type of success you're having right now. We all knew it was going to happen, and we're all proud of you.
I love y'all. Thank you.
It's awesome. So, Chantel, I have a question for you. So, who are your role models, whether females or just anyone in the industry? Like, who inspired you?
I think growing up, I had Maggie Chung, who did a lot of Wong Kar-wai films, as someone I admired a lot, and Sandra Oh, who broke a lot of barriers with the work she's done. But I also love doing theater. So a lot of actresses who've done theater and film and television is something I admire a lot, like Tessa Thompson or Felicia Rashad and Kate Blanchett. So I love actresses who use their craft not just as a way of exposure, but really to like as a craft, digging deep and using it in a way that can change lives in their own lives. Like my grandmother, who left Vietnam during the war with her 10 kids on a boat. Wow. That for me, the personal heroes in my life, I think probably have marked me the most.
Wow, that's awesome.
How do you liberate yourselves and or subsequently your characters from the hypersexualized, exotic stereotypes that can be attached to Black and multicultural women? And what advice can you offer young girls about how to reclaim their sexuality, power, and confidence?
For me, one of the reasons that I was really excited to play Darla Dudley is because she's actually 8. And for me, I have come from, throughout my 20s, I was very much like that sexy girl, the love interest, the whatever it may be. And so breaking out of that space in my late 20s was really difficult. And what I learned was the fun thing is there's nothing wrong with owning your sexuality and wanting to be beautiful and sexy and strong and all those things. But also it's about, as she was saying earlier, humanizing whatever character you are now living and breathing and finding the things about them that are human and real that people can relate to, that are not just an idea of like, oh, that looks great and like that's awesome, but like who is this person at the core that makes her not just relatable to other people, but especially as being Black women, relatable as a Black woman, because that
characters like this, it's so
unique,
important,
no matter what the experience
especially in
is,
this day and age, to have
Black first,
this kind of representation out there.
So I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to owning a certain part of it and being happy because we are women. Why should we not lean into all of who we are, but also being able to lean into all of it and being proud of all of it and figuring out how that works for each character. And for me with Darla Dudley, that was like a dream come true because I pretty much am like
later on in the evening
between like 9
there's
and like
a panel.
50
It'll be in the
life.
part 3 video for
it was nice
this,
to not lean into
that
sexuality
deals
at all
with
and lean into the goofy side of
Asian
me,
artists
really
and
only my
writers,
husband and
which I think is really cool. So I love that they're doing
all the time.
Now,
like
firsts
this.
are important.
Really,
and
really
I think a lot of us here are firsts, seeing Black superheroes and people of color being superheroes, period, and women of color being superheroes. Nafisa, as half of the popular Anissa Grace couple on Black Lightning, what have you learned from our brothers and sisters in the LGBTQIA+ community? What's been the feedback? What's been the thing? I feel it when I play Garnet, which is a whole other character. But like, what's been the feedback? What's been the thing? Because that's something that is wide and broad, and you stand for something major here.
Thank you, and I'm really honored to play this role, the first Black lesbian superhero, right? Because when I think of that, I think about all the Black lesbians who have not been able to visually see themselves when they go to the cinema or they watch their favorite TV shows. And for me,
it's one thing of knowing that there was a void for it, but when you're in that role and you're getting the feedback, you realize the importance of it and how much it's necessary and how much it's needed. And for me, the feedback that I once got, and I feel like Candace, I get emotional, and this is one that sticks out to me every time someone asks me this question, is I was at a Comic-Con and a young woman came up to me and she was full on tears and she said, I feel normal being a lesbian after seeing Thunder. So for me, my job is done. I feel like God has used me in that sense. As storytellers, I believe it's our purpose and it's our duty to tell stories that are important, especially for our culture. So that's the biggest reward of all, knowing that people are seeing themselves, little girls, when they see my character, they see themselves in the hood with cornrows. We didn't have superheroes who looked like us before.
So speaking of first, as the first Muslim superhero on television, Tala, how important is it for your role as Zari be authentic to your heritage?
It's really important. I think it's more important that it's kind of authentic to her heritage. Obviously, I bring myself to the role and what I am, which is an immigrant, which is an Iranian American. But when I heard she was going to be the first, and I say Muslim American because I think it's really important that we keep the American part of it, because it's so easy to otherize in these situations. And so when it was first Muslim American superhero, I mean, I felt the weight of that. And I think the really smart thing that my show did, which every show should do, is that when they hired me, they hired a Muslim American writer.
Wow, that's great.
Shout out to Oba Muhammad, who is a wonderful human and a wonderful writer. So when I heard Muslim American superhero, to bring it back around, I was like, we have to get this right.
She's
Representation
fantastic
matters so
in
much.
both versions
so
of this
that,
character.
Like,
She
little
does
brown
such
girls
a
all
good
over
job.
this, not just girls, all little brown children all over the world are seeing someone like me and being like, oh, that like opens my mind. That opens possibilities. But also people who, are in maybe parts of our country who will never be exposed to a Muslim American. If they can connect to the character, I feel like we've done our job, And yeah, that's just what we're trying to do.
I think it's great that you recognize that it's not just about little girls, because there are some boys of color that are watching all of you that are feeling inspired because of the roles that you're playing. So thank you to all of you for doing that, being great representation. So I want to throw a question out there. Anyone can answer. So which of your characters' superpowers would you like to have in real life to combat like social injustice that's going on here today?
Yeah, everybody has to answer this one.
This isn't my This isn't my superpower, but I'm on a time travel show, so I have a lot of changes I'd love to make to history. There's a lot of dates. There's a date in 2016 in November. I'd go back there first.
Well, Corey can set people on fire, which sounds really violent and terrible, but
why not?
I did steal my husband's superpowers in one episode. And became the fastest woman on the planet. So I guess if I had super speed, I would.
That was a pretty cool episode. I actually really
super
dug
speed
that.
a lot of people out of precarious police interactions.
So my character, Thunder's superpowers, super.
Do you guys have a favorite character out of these? I'll say specifically these women, but any character of color that you really love, any female character of color. I'm just curious who you guys love. So let me know in the comments.
Thunder's strength is a bit more intense than mine, so I definitely borrow her strength for that.
Yes.
I take from a different part of Blackfire, has some issues with her family, and that means that she's had to spend a lot of time going inside and trying to figure out why she has those issues. And so that's the thing that I would take and I would give everybody right now. I'd give everybody the ability to go inside and truly ask yourself
I'm actually
how we
pretty
got
excited
here.
to see the Titans channel
power
to see
to
what
swap some people
glimpses
out of
we
the
might
office.
get of her from season 3.
We were talking about this, Batwoman doesn't necessarily have a superpower, but I do have the ability to put a mask on and do things that I feel other citizens are too scared to do based off of, it ruining their reputation or
Be right back, guys.
it putting their family in danger.
What does being a boss mean to you?
I think being a boss is making more bosses. I think that we have to everybody on this call right now has to give it up for the people who came before us, who took the crap, who showed up every single day with the circumstances that they were handed. I don't think they get enough credit. The stunt people, the people behind the scenes who are editing us, the people whose names never get called when people are accepting their awards at award shows. We are here because of previous bosses, and now it's our obligation to reach down and make even more. It's like making sure that every move that I make, the algorithm is real when it comes to social media, and whether we like it or not, we have no idea who's following us or what it's showing up as. And the reality is they're taking what we do and they're mimicking it. So how do you want to be mimicked? And really, how do you want to show up if bossing is a thing that you want to be forever? So first of all, shout out to all the other bosses on this call, and thank y'all for showing up.
Being a boss means following your heart and also being of service to others.
I think, to me, being a boss is knowing that it's bigger than you.
I was going to say that, the word boss, and when this panel came up for me, it reminded me, we also get called divas. And the flip side of that is we also get called difficult, bossy. And for me, being a boss, especially a boss as a Black woman, a woman of color, means standing in that, being okay with being labeled as difficult if it means that I have to stand up for what's right and do the right thing. I've had to learn as I get older to not be afraid as a Black woman to speak up, because I've been taught so much in my life to be quiet, be grateful, don't say too much, don't ask for too much, don't disturb too much, just go with the flow. And, in the last several years of my life, I have been able to find my strength in being able to stand up for myself and for others, more importantly. And I think often we get labeled as divas, difficult, and I love that we changed that title into boss, because that is really being a boss. It's really being a boss. Like when I go to work, I'm a boss. I'm a boss for me and I'm a boss for everyone around me, meaning that I will stand up for you. And if that means that I have to take on a label as being difficult to do the right thing, then that's what it takes, And I think that's what we have to do as Black women, is be bosses for each other. So yeah, I'm proud to be a boss.
Yes. Thank you for allowing me to be the only man in this conversation.
D-Nice, thank you for being such a blessing to all of us during this pandemic. What you did and took upon yourself to do gave so many of us just light when we truly needed it. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
One more time, we're gonna do a roll call. Okay. Do a roll call. Make some noise for Megan. Good. Make some noise for Karen. Make some William. Make some noise for Chantal Twin. Make some noise for Teresa. Make some noise for Anna. Make some noise for Damaris. And make some noise for Tyler.
All right. Cool. So next up is the Legacy of the Bat. It's the last one for this stream. So.
Hola, mis amigos. I'm Damian Moya from Madrid, Spain. Where are you watching us from? Tweet us your location and your
From my
favorite DC
computer at
superhero
home
with
in
hashtag DC
New
FANDOME.
York.
One of my favorites
Central
is Batman. He's smart, successful, cool, crafty, and I don't know anyone who looks better in a mask. But I have to confess, I'm one of those guys who isn't really sure how one Bat can star in so many different stories and in so many ways. Comics, films, TV, games. Don't worry, I'll watch it all. But They cannot think it takes detective smarts to pull off a strategy like that. How do the folks at DC do it? Well, we're about to find out, because up next we have a panel dedicated to the legacy of Batman and the Bat family. From the Good Five, please welcome actor and bona fide Batman blur, Nyambi Nyambi.
Oh, sweet. I've actually interviewed him as well at I think it was the Reign
Hello,
of the
everyone, and welcome to
Superman
Legacy of the Bat, the DC
round
Fandome panel
table
where
at
we
New
take
York
a deep
Comic
dive not just into Batman's history,
He's a really cool
but
dude.
how he has
He really
created and inspired proteges that have grown into an extended Bat family. I'm Nyambi Nyambi, and I am pleased to introduce our esteemed panel of Bat experts.
Oh, Brendan Fleet.
So first off, much like the Cape Crusader himself, our first panelist is a legend in the comics industry, Jim Lee.
Jim Lee doing everything during this thing. It's kind of awesome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
See him so many times.
She's the first person to pull Batwoman from the pages of the comics and bring her to life on your TV screens. And soon she'll be ushering an all-new vigilante crime fighter into the world. Please welcome the showrunner for television's Batwoman, Caroline Dries.
Hi.
Yes. You've already seen the big announcement from this next panelist's new video game, Gotham Knights. So please welcome back the creative director for WB Games Montreal, Patrick Reddick.
Hey, how's it going?
Nice. Please, everyone, I want to welcome the legendary John Ridley.
Thank you.
Our next panelist portrays one of the most well-known longtime members of the Bat family. He pushed this character into a whole new light when he uttered just two little words. From Warner Brothers Television's Titans, it's Nightwing himself, Brenton Thwaites.
Yes.
Hey guys, Brenton, you are the first person to play a live-action version of Nightwing, but it's been a journey over the past 2 seasons
I guess,
of the show.
by that name.
And a pretty bold decision was
Because I
made to
guess
kick
you
off the
could
show by
kind of
having
count
Robin
Chris
say two
O'Donnell.
little words.
I mean, I know he's technically Robin, but he essentially wore the Nightwing outfit.
Not just fighting crime,
in Batman and Robin. So.
Stepping over the line a little bit here. And the Batman was thrown in there to show that he is attempting to break away from Batman, and you know, he's kind of sick of fighting crime in Batman's shadow. And that's kind of what season 1 was about. And then at the end of season 2, obviously, he develops into Nightwing, which is a character that, for me, kind of symbolizes putting away his past and finally developing into this character.
Season 2 of Titans was phenomenal. Like I really enjoyed season 1, but season 2, above and beyond for it. I loved it.
To play with Jason Todd. What was that like?
Let me know what you guys did. You guys enjoy Titans season 2? And are you excited for season 3?
Rebellious character who doesn't have the same respect for authority that, let's say, Dick Grayson has. And I think Dick Grayson tries to mentor him and tries to offer up that open channel should Jason want it. And, you know, I think that he watches Jason make a few mistakes and tries to step in, and Jason doesn't want that.
So, Dick Grayson and Jason Todd were both mentored by Batman, but there's another member of the Bat family with a different origin. I'm speaking, of course, about Batwoman, because Batwoman's not a sidekick. She never was a sidekick. She entered the Bat family a fully realized superhero, right?
I think the fun that we had with season 1 is Kate, you know, finding her way into being a superhero. It's all about the learning curve. And then it's the moral responsibility of learning, like, how do I deal with this and how do I best represent the Bat legacy? So it was really just about her arc into becoming the superhero.
It's a very personal story in terms of what Kate Kane is going through. Why was that story so special for you?
So my opportunity as a writer was to say, how do we represent Batman through the eyes of a woman, and in this case, through the eyes of a lesbian woman. And part of her growth was realizing, as Kate, I am a lesbian and I'm open and out and comfortable, but there's this irony in I put on this costume and I automatically hide that thing that makes me so unique. I think an important story that we tell this season is that Batwoman literally comes out of the closet so that people see not just Kate Kane, who's a cool badass CEO, cool girl. I want to see the superhero that I'm looking up to on the rooftop and saying, oh, that is somebody I could be someday.
You're now poised to break even more ground in season 2 with the first Black actress to ever play Batwoman, which is huge.
It's huge. It's awesome. Kate Kane has disappeared in season 2, And it was controversial to the fans because, of course, they love Kate Kane, and so, of course, we're going to keep her part of the show. But it also gave us this really unique opportunity to create a new Batwoman. And I decided to make up a character named Ryan Wilder, who is the opposite of Kate Kane. Ryan Wilder is a character that Batwoman needs to protect. And so it just really provided a new rich storytelling device for us, and we couldn't be happier to have our new Batwoman.
And as a special bonus treat, she just said it, we have Ryan Wilder herself, the new Batwoman, with us here today. Please welcome Javicia Leslie.
Yeah.
And how does it feel to be the new face of Batwoman?
I found out an hour before everybody else found out. So I was pretty shocked along with the entire world. And then I was like looking through some of the articles, and one of the publications put Javicia Leslie is breaking history by being the first Black woman to play Batwoman. And then it changed for me.
You know, reading, the comics and seeing these superheroes.
I love the character
I would see him as
of
the white guy. I
Batwoman.
would see him as Batman.
I fell
So
in
then
love with
it
that
allowed
character
me to
during
then
New
imagine
52.
myself as Batman. So
And
then
it's
for
just
the world to
grown
actually
from there,
see
so.
someone playing Batman.
I'm actually really
it's such a huge thing
intrigued
me,
to
'cause I
see
feel
this
like
take
it lets
on the
people know
character. I
that
mean, I know
any
it's
of
not
us can
Kate
step into
Kane,
the
but
shoes.
What I love
I'm
about
really
DC,
intrigued to see
what
what
I
they
love
do
about
with it
WB,
in
what I
season
love
2.
about Berlanti is that you have these iconic characters, and they've done this amazing job making them so many different ethnicities and shapes and sizes and things that weren't as typical as you may have imagined when you were a kid and seeing them. And what DC has done, what WB has done, what Berlanti has done is they've showed us that you could be anything, no matter what the color of your skin is.
Now, how do you see this incarnation of Batwoman fitting into the full legacy of the Bat?
Well, at first, she doesn't fit. That's the story. She doesn't fit. Literally, she makes it fit her. And in making it fit her, she makes the Bat accessible to this whole other world of people who normally might not have had a hero to look up to. And so she, puts her stamp on the legacy.
All right, Jim. Okay, you've been doing this for a few years, right?
Yes.
Right? For a few years.
Yeah.
You've been around the block.
Yes.
How many times do you think you've drawn Batman?
I've been at DC since 1998. So I figure I've drawn, 22 years? So at least 22 times, but I think no more than 10,000. So somewhere.
So at least 22 times?
Yeah.
So what is it about Batman to you that makes his legacy such a lasting one?
At the core of it, he's the ultimate underdog, right? He's in a world of all these crazy characters with amazing powers, and all he has is his wealth and his smarts and his ambition and sort of obsessive need for justice. So I think we can all relate to him because he's very human in that respect, and I think he also really has something for everyone.
What's also dope about growing up with Batman is actually growing up with Robin. And how Robin has sort of grown into his own person, becoming Nightwing. Talk about that growth.
The introduction of Robin really kind of changed the tone of the character, from a brooding loner. Now he has this responsibility to a young ward that he's mentoring. It makes him more human and is a path to redemption for himself, right? To find his humanity. Because it was kind of an important turning point in the character, and has led to this extended Batman family that you see. So we're super excited to announce that we have acclaimed writer John Ridley coming on board. In January 21, John will be working with artist Nick Darrington, who's fantastic. I'd love to hear from John kind of what led him to this character and how he's going to approach it.
A big part of my life has been around Batman, has been around
I'm
people
excited
who
for
choose
this.
to do better. And even if some of that is just wish fulfillment, it is part of what we want our young people, kids to believe in, that everybody can be part of the process. And for a long time, as was said, for those of us who are outside of the prevailing culture, it didn't matter the race of Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman. We just identified with the idea of trying to be the fabric of an environment that was better. I think it's a pretty safe bet that if I'm writing Batman, it's probably a little better than a 47% chance he's going to be a person of color. That's what I would say. What's very exciting for me is that I'm going to have the opportunity to delve into the Fox family. So you have Lucius Fox, this character who has been, other than Alfred, probably the person who's been at Batman's side maybe the longest. But he has a family, and this is a family that has secrets, has kept secrets from one another. It's a little bit different dynamic than the Batman that we've always seen.
So everyone loves Batman. He has millions of fans. He has inspired one of the most badass entourages since the OK Corral. And yet there is one amongst us, I see him smiling already, working on a game where Batman is actually dead.
We wanted to take away
he is.
any
I didn't see
certainty,
that coming.
any feeling of safety. So we could take a Gotham City, where Bruce Wayne has been operating as Batman for like 15 years, with all that history, with his whole network of allies, and then take him out of the picture. It really demands players figure out, how would I step up, and how would I protect Gotham City?
Let's take a quick look at what's coming out of WB Games Montreal next year.
If you're watching this,
We get to see the trailer again. Cool.
we both know it won't take long for Gotham's criminals to realize the Batman is gone.
Shortened version of it.
Gotham will need its protectors more than ever.
If you guys didn't see the full-length trailers and then the gameplay stuff, head on over to DCComicsNews.com because we have that posted.
Okay, so before
so
we wrap
good.
up, we have a fan
It looks
question brought to
amazing.
you by one of Gotham City's good neighbors, Jake from State Farm.
Jake
Yeah,
from
we all know
State
Jake from State
Farm.
Take it away, Jake.
Jim Lee, hello. Wow, I'm a huge fan, and I love your work. I mean, obviously. Okay, let's get to it.
I love that
So,
he's just like this huge DC geek. It's
James
kind of
from
awesome.
the U.S. asks, when you first started drawing Batman, what or who were your inspirations for your design for that character?
For those of you that collect comics, I think one of my main influences is an artist named Neil Adams. He just brought this, sense of reality, fancy word, very similar to his art. I just looked like it was real, like you go out and touch it. This is before there were movies and TV shows, so this is as good as it got for us. And then there was another artist later, Frank Miller, who, I was in college, and Dark Knight Returns came out, and that was real. That changed my life. I mean, that was the story that kind of inspired me to pursue a career in comics. So when I drew my own story in Hush, I actually started out drawing Batman kind of thick and blocky, kind of like how Frank draws it, kind of an homage to Dick Sprang, which was an artist from yesteryear. But then as I drew more and more of the character over the course of the year and a half I worked on that project, by the end it was kind of leaner and looked more like a Neil Adams physique. Those are my two influences.
Clearly, we're all big Batman fans here, right? We're all big Batman fans here. That's why we're here. I'm a fan too. This is one of my many statues that I have here. I have a fan question for all of you. What would you say is your first memory of Batman?
Obviously, Eartha Kitt was a huge influence because she was the first Catwoman, and to see that role and to see her really be her, because that's her personality in general, it really brought like this sexiness to something that was, to me, originally when I was a kid, I felt like it was a boy's world. Then The Dark Knight came out, and that's when I was insanely addicted to the world of my craft, of my art, and to see Heath Ledger and all these iconic actors play these iconic characters is when I became obsessed.
I gotta say, I'm with Javicia. As a kid, I knew of the world and was a fan of Batman, but it was really the Batman Begins, Nolan's Batman, that really, as an actor, threw me into the world.
I agree. I think that was the first time I saw a superhero movie where I was just expecting it to be a superhero movie, and it was about a character, and it was that, Batman Begins. Just how did this boy become this vigilante?
I watched the Adam West TV show as a kid. I remember spending hours playing with the Batmobile and shooting little pellets out of the mortar in the back, and that's kind of my history of the character.
Yeah.
There was a world's finest two-parter from years ago. It was Batman and Superman, who were captured and put into a Soviet gulag in Siberia. Everything about it was so painful and torturous and grounded, but at the same time, it's about people being heroic. when the odds are completely against you.
Patrick Redding.
I think for me, what hit me the hardest was Batman Year One. That struck me the most and made me really fall in love with that character.
For me, it was the Batman the Animated Series. That's what made me fall in love with the character.
You are enjoying DC Fandom.
All right, everybody. That is the end of this part of the stream. So stay tuned. I am going to get the second part of the stream going up here in just a minute. See you soon. Make sure link down in the description. So make sure you click that link to get to part 2 of DC Comics News live stream of DC Fandom. See you soon.